Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Join me tonight, Chemo, and hopefully Dan will be on later on. Hope you're well, Chemo. Before we get into it, we're doing the show on a Thursday again. Recently, Thursday's been a bit better for Chemo, and also last week it was a bit better for Leon, but unfortunately this week was Leon's dad's birthday. I did say to Leon, however,
we good friends, I love you daddy, but let's get it on.
But you know, his dad's birthday is more important than the podcast, so I'll let you off this time, Leon. But Chemo, what's happening?
Man, I didn't know you were gonna use that. That's fucking gold right there, man. I love drunk Errol Spains.
Yeah, they're providing it with excellent sound bites these days, man.
Yeah, man. He's coming out of a shell, you know, like, and it's great because he's not. You know, he's not the most well-spoken guy in the world, but he's just funny, unintentionally funny the way he comes across. And especially when he had a couple of cocktails, he's even better. So
yeah, definitely.
Keep it coming.
All right, let's get straight into it, Chemo. Golovkin, Canelo 2, and I think a majority of topics I think we're going to agree, but first of all, give us your take on the fight.
Oh, man. I'm going to need a little bit of time for this one, Cam. Where to start? I was hyped for the fight. I had a feeling it was going to be good, but I didn't have a feeling the way it turned out. Like that was. I don't think anybody in boxing expected Canelo to fight the way he did. I have yet to see somebody come out and say, "I fucking told you it was going to press forward and control the center of the ring." No, nobody came up with that scenario, and he fucking did it, man. He came out with a totally different game plan. I've seen people arguing about what it really implied in the fight, whether he was actually pushing Golovkin back. I don't really understand those arguments. Was Golovkin on the ropes? No, but he was a lot of times backing up. And now all of a sudden there's a lot of purists that come out that say, like, oh, but he was boxing brilliantly and this and that. Well, I don't think he boxes brilliantly on the back foot. I don't think he's an Arislandi Lara. I don't think he's that effective. He wasn't getting his shots off, and Golovkin is way more effective when he's coming forward. And by the way, when he's coming forward, he's also boxing. Like we've seen, for example, in the Lemieux fight, that he's still boxing, he's still using his jab and controlling the action of the ring, but he has a forward momentum, right? And Canelo took that completely away from him for at least 6-7 rounds. And for me, still, the majority of the fight afterwards didn't really change. I think Canelo was still able to press forward, and he did fantastic. I mean, what are some of the key highlights? The body work was fantastic. I think he definitely had an effect on Golovkin. You could see kind of around the 5th and 6th round where Golovkin was kind of breathing heavy a little bit. I mean, that's a testament to the body work that Canelo was doing. And even though Canelo was standing in the line of fire, he wasn't getting hit that much cleanly, all things considered. You know, like you're still going to get hit when you come forward like that. Like there's not a lot of guys that can get away with, you know, avoiding punches altogether. But he did incredibly well, and I was surprised. I was not surprised by the body work, obviously, because he's always had that, but I was surprised by the pace, Cam. That, to me, was probably one of the biggest surprises in the entire fight. The pace that he kept was really good. I don't think he gassed out at all. I think he maybe slowed down a little bit in certain rounds, but that's perfectly fucking normal. Like, there's not many guys that can fight like that for 12 rounds.
You can't sustain that for 12 rounds.
Hell no, man. I mean, unless your name is like Antonio Margarita or something. But
or guys from the lower weight classes that, you know, got that type of pace that they can carry it for 12 rounds.
Yeah, and it brings up a lot of interesting questions, you know, because I don't want to get into that now. We'll get into that later. But Canelo has gone on so much scrutiny for the drug testing that we've talked about over the last few months, and surprisingly, in this fight, he's actually had a lot of stamina. He did look a little bit slimmer in the ring. I don't take much away from Wayne's, but when you looked at him in the ring, I did think he looked significantly smaller this time than Golovkin. He wasn't as jacked as he was before. maybe that contributed to him just, being able to flow more in the ring. I don't know. But I was very, very impressed by that. Golovkin, I don't know. He just kind of looked the same to me as the last fight. He's still looking a little bit old. He can't really pull the trigger that much anymore.
Zero body work
once again. He's become a jab-based fighter, pretty much, right? That's what he's become.
Yeah, jab and headhunting with the power punches. Like, I could probably count on a single hand the amount of landed body shots he had against Canelo.
I don't think it's in the game plan anymore, but I do sense that. God, there's so many aspects to this fight. I do sense that Abel wasn't entirely happy with the way he was executing this, because you could see from his advice as well in the corner, like, getting pushed back was not part of the game plan. Like, I've seen some of these people come out and be like, oh, this was his, he was just boxing. Well, no, the corner was frustrated. He was getting hit a lot. You could see it visibly in his face. Yes, you don't score a fight by bruises, but Jesus Christ, like, this is the first fight where I've seen him get hit often, cleanly, and there was substantial damage to him. Like, he normally doesn't look like that. You can't deny that. Like, that's a visual, aesthetic in the ring that you simply cannot deny. So that's another aspect to it. I want to also talk about, like, the later rounds, Cam, but I'll let you give your, because I can ramble on and on about this fight. I'll let you give your initial take a little bit, and then we'll just kind of bounce off each other.
Yeah, I thought Golovkin got a decent start. The jab was working well. Early parts of the fight I definitely, gave to Golovkin. For me, I scored it 7-5 for Golovkin, but I'll probably get into this later on because it kind of affects the end. But it was a great fight to watch, much better than the first one. I think I quoted to say the first one was like a firework that just didn't blow off. It fizzled and fizzled, but it just didn't go. But this definitely, both guys trading in the pocket, and Canelo's bodywork was a thing of beauty, man. Like, the amount of heavy counters to the body, and Golovkin was just visibly winded at times, and like he hit it decently, but you could tell like they were having an effect. And on anyone else, man, like, they would have got folded in half. But like, props to his core and his conditioning, it was excellent, because the way he took hellacious body shots. Canelo, as you said, the game plan. Who expected him to kind of walk Triple G down? Who expected Triple G to be going backwards and circling around Canelo? No one expected that, man. Everyone expected this. Maybe this. Well, I'm not saying everyone. I expected a very similar outcome to the first fight. Canelo backtracking. Trying to counter off the ropes. Fighting in spurts, but how did he maintain that pace, man? I don't say that. I don't mean that in the sense of like he must be on some new juice that's undetectable. But I was astounded, man. Like, how, because Kimo, you've boxed, man. Like, when you load up on shots, man, they took like maybe twice, 3 times the amount of energy that just a single jab would take. And he was just landing big hooks to the body, uppercuts to the body, and the pace was excellent, man. And for me, Roy Jones kind of summed it up at the end, and he said, Abel was saying, we want, Canelo to fight Mexican style, stand there and trade. He did that. What did your guy do? Your guy went on the back foot. Yeah, the jab was very effective, but his headshots weren't, man. Like, a lot of them were getting deflected, no body work, and towards the end of the fight, even though I think Golovkin came on strong, I think Canelo overall, even though I've scored it 7-5 to Golovkin, I think my overall vibe of the fight was, like a Canelo type of win, because he was the aggressor the majority of the fight. He landed the heavier punches. I'm not talking about the face marking thing, because, like, some people mark up a lot easier than others. So, you see on Twitter, people showing their faces and like who won the fight, blah, blah. That's just nonsense. But it's a shame that such a great fight that was close, and arguably, you could say it could have been a draw. You could say that Golovkin could have nicked it. It's a shame that, we get these hardcore fans on either side that have to, like, cry robbery, or, it wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a dominant win for Canelo. it was just a great fight, and let's just enjoy it for what it was, man. Like, I hate the backlash of these big fights sometimes because it takes away from the fight for me.
May I concur. Like, it was actually quite disgraceful the way a lot of fans came out and just started criticizing the outcome and the overall fight and started nitpicking at certain things when you got exactly what you wanted. Like, everything that everybody kept completely bitching about the whole time. And frankly, even though he's not here, like, Leon was one of them. And he kept on saying, like, fucking how many times I've heard, like, oh, Canelo was just backing up all the time. Oh, Canelo was just running away. Oh, Canelo was always on the fucking ropes. Mate, when was he on the ropes in this fight? Like, once, twice? Like, he came forward the entire goddamn fight. Like, what more do you want? Did he gas out? No. Did he shy away from a confrontation in the middle of the ring? No. Like, I did not expect that. One of the most frustrating things about Canelo that I've ever seen is him, for example, not coming forward against Floyd. Like, just having a guy that's much smaller than you in there, who's obviously a very gifted boxer, but who doesn't have the power of a Golovkin, and he's just kind of conceding to the defeat. And here it was the complete goddamn opposite against one of the biggest punchers in the sport, which is incredible. Like, I mean, he actually, I don't know what it is, Cam. Maybe he was honestly, like, just lit up because of this whole situation. Maybe this whole, drug testing and his name being put to shame, and he's a prideful guy. Maybe that lit a fire under his ass. I really don't know. But we've never seen him fight like this, and it's an incredible thing to see. Like, I never thought that he had this in him. It was an aggressive, it was almost like aggressive counterpunching. Like, he would come forward, he would lead sometimes, but he would also wait for Golovkin to throw and counter to the body, counter to the head. I mean, he didn't throw the jab that often, but he did have some beautiful jabs in there as well. Like, I thought it was a really, really exciting performance from him, man. And for people to just come out and shit on this entire thing, I mean, look at the 12th round. It was fucking brilliant. Did you ever imagine that we would get something like this from these two guys? No. You and I both expected a very tactical affair again, and it turned out to be a fucking shootout in some moments, man.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to mention, Cam, as well, is I feel like people, because of Golovkin's power and what he's shown in the past, tend to overrate a little bit what he did in this fight versus Canelo. Like, I had an argument with a few people on Twitter about that Canelo was hurt. I'm sorry, but was he really that hurt? What is suddenly, because it's Golovkin, like, once he actually hits Canelo clean, like, he's automatically hurt? Yeah, he got popped with a good shot. And he stopped throwing for like 2-3 seconds. And then afterwards, he makes Golovkin miss 5 punches. Like, there's a classic little Vine on Twitter about this, where he gets tagged, and then all of a sudden, it's Matrix Canelo again, where he rolls, and he doesn't get hit at all. And people want to say, like, oh, he was fucking getting his ass beaten in that round. Mate, where have your fucking standards gone? Is that your idea of getting beat? Watch the Ramirez Orosco fight. That's somebody getting fucking smashed and hurt and wobbly. Canelo didn't even wobble, man. Like, he just simply got tagged. Maybe he got a bit buzzed, and that's it. He recovered. He had a fucking granite chin, and that's it. And there's a lot of excitement because it's Golovkin, right? Because we expect when this guy lands, you go down. That's the golden rule that we've had. And in the last few fights, that simply just hasn't been the case anymore. He still got popped. Don't get me wrong, but come on, man. To state that, like, Canelo was almost in like survival mode or whatever in that round, it's just fucking ridiculous. He had his faculties about him, and he was still boxing incredibly skilled. I mean, what's your take on that, man? I saw so many people talk about that shit. It's crazy to me.
I personally didn't see much of that, but only on like fight day I'll go on Twitter. Like the day after on that, I just leave it, man, because I understand people's view, because when you're like heavily invested in one boxer, like you'll fight to the hilt, to defend them. But I'm not that guy anymore. I'm that guy. If you're doing well, I'll congratulate you. If you do something I don't like, or you you have a dodgy performance, I'll call you out and say you had a dodgy performance. I'm not defending anyone these days, man. I just want to watch good fights. You probably understand that from the way I view Khan these days. But moving on from Amir, we'll probably get to him later on again. But I totally, regarding you and that Vine, yeah, that was amazing. I don't know what the Vine that you saw, but I saw like someone like put like me, and then they put it to the body of Canelo, and then they put these hoes to the body of Golovkin, and like he was doing the Matrix because the hoes were trying to get me, and
I did actually see that. I just saw a normal Vine of the fight.
Oh, you need to see the one I retweeted then. But yeah, man, like. I agree. I think he was slightly buzzed, but the thing about Canelo, especially in recent times, is, and I say it to Lim all the time when you watch him like do any bag work or any pad work, is he's so fundamentally sound when it comes to like muscle memory and actually moving after you throw your punches. So it's very difficult to catch Canelo clean. I think it's a combination of that and the fact that Golovkin does head hunt too much. So the fact that he's trying to always go for the head, and Canelo's got these great fundamentals about, riding punches and slipping punches. And yeah, like, I don't necessarily think it's him having a great chin. He's just not getting caught full flush punches. That's my view on it.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both, Cam. Because a lot of times in the first fight, for example, there's a moment where Golovkin, I think, hits him with a looping right hand on the temple, and all that Canelo does is just look at him and wave him on.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm drinking some Dr. Pepper and it's going down a bit difficult. Yeah. So I think it's a combination. Like, I think he's got a very sturdy chin, something that I personally criticized him many, many times for. After the Cotto fight, but yeah, he's solid as hell, and it's the combination of that sturdiness and we said this last fight, man. He's a top 3 defensive fighter in boxing right now. Like, he is just so fucking good with his upper body movement, with his reflexes, like you said, with his muscle memory. I mean, people that get hit in the fucking gym all the time by counterpunchers need to watch this guy and take note. Because exactly like you said, he's always fucking thinking a few steps ahead. He never just throws a punch and just admires it. He's always thinking about defense. And the incredible thing is that this fight, he combined it with an aggressive offense. And that is, mate, there's not a lot of guys that can do that, man. We have to give this dude credit. It's really quite masterful what we saw. And, like you said, at the end of the day, this was a close fight. Yes, I'm kissing Canelo's ass quite a bit because I was simply so impressed. But I can see it close. Like, Golovkin was still getting his licks in. He was still landing jabs quite a lot. So it's automatically going to be close. And then he had the final rounds, where he had a lot more success. I have no issue with a draw. I have no issue with, swinging it a bit more towards Canelo. Me personally, I find it a bit difficult to score it for Golovkin. I simply found the work that Canelo did too rewarding, not to give him these rounds. Even the last round, he did fucking well. And I've seen some people say, like, oh, that was a pure Golovkin round. I mean, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? There is just a lot of bias, Cam. And to refer to what you said before, like, people that are so invested in it, like, I don't know what the agenda is. Either you despise Canelo because of what happened, or you're simply a massive Golovkin fan. Who fucking cares? You know what I mean? Like, I was the biggest Lucas Matisse fan, probably, apart from Mal Alpha. And when he got fucking schooled by Danny Garcia, I was fucking shattered, But I remember that day as well afterwards. I called in the Boxing Voice. And in the beginning, I was pissed about little things in the fight, like the holding, for example. But at the end of the day, I called in and I was like, you know what? He's the better fighter, period. Like, he just outboxed him. He hurt him, and he took his best shots. And this is exactly what people need to understand for this fight. Like, even if your guy didn't win, you have to acknowledge that was not one of his best performances. Look at the fucking corner. Look what Abel said after the fight. Abel is one of the cockiest motherfuckers, in boxing. And he was, he was not happy. He said it himself, like, this is not what we really wanted to execute. And we're not going to be hypocritical about this. And Canelo was the better fighter on the night. That's literally what he said. So, leave your fucking so-called dignity at the door. Get the fucking fight again. Put it on at home. Watch it again because it's fucking brilliant. And leave all these, like, feelings fucking home, man. Like, honestly, it's just stupid. I don't get why people are getting so riled up about this shit. It exceeded everybody's expectations. You can't tell me that this was not an enjoyable fight, right?
Yeah.
So,
regarding Golovkin, quickly, Chemo, what was your thoughts about him not partaking in the post-fight interview? I personally thought it was a bit, toys out the pram type of business.
I didn't like that at all. Like, May, you had a great fight. You hopefully kind of respect each other. Give the people a fucking interview. I don't understand. Like, he came to the presser though, fair enough. Maybe it was just a spur of the moment thing. He at least showed up for the presser, right? Like that tells me that he probably realized, I need to talk to the media and the people. Because normally when people do that, they just fuck off, right? They don't even go to a presser.
Yeah.
So I guess he was just a little bit pissed off and emotional about it and just disappointed. So he needed a moment to kind of calm down a little bit. But yeah, it is a bit sad that he didn't stick around. That's not really the type of guy that I would imagine him to be.
Yeah.
And he would just give Canelo the respect. But like we said before, Cam, I think on his side, I think there is a personal vendetta against Canelo. I think he does feel mistreated with the whole thing that happened. And
and also I think he also felt that, Canelo's probably waited for him to get a bit older, which he did. That these two fights should have happened a couple of years ago. But that's the tactics people use in boxing. That's how boxing is. You've got to live with it or get on with it.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Cam, you're biting the hand that feeds you, right? He could have also fought a lot of other guys instead of Canelo, but instead he got 2 massive paychecks, right?
True. Yeah.
So, it's a double-edged sword. If I was him, like, I would probably be discouraged by the drug test, because especially if you fought the guy and this comes out, it becomes quite personal, right? Because at the end of the day, you're giving your life in the ring. So if anything comes out, whether it gets, refuted later on or he does, the 365 testing afterwards, the fact is that it happened. So it's going to be in his head, and I don't think it's probably going to leave in Golovkin's mind. Having said that, I don't think he would decline a third fight, right, with him. I mean, it's going to make a shitload of money. It's probably going to be very exciting once again. I mean, I would be up for a third fight. Would you?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it'd probably do better financially than the second fight. So.
No, exactly. Simply because of the way it went. On the other hand, though, there's plenty of fresh matchups that we can talk about. But for those two guys, it just makes a lot of sense for them financially. There's no other guy that they can fight that couldn't generate as much money. So having that classic trilogy fight, I can see it happening. I honestly can. I don't know. I don't really know how they can go. I mean, it sounds a bit disrespectful towards the other fighters, but I don't think they're gonna take a step down from this. Like is Golovkin gonna fight, a Charlo or a Billy Joe Saunders or anything like that? I don't know, man. And the same holds for Canelo. I don't know if I can see that happening.
For me, Canelo, I think, would be more willing to fight a third time, just because he would take a lot more confidence into the third fight. Golovkin, I think he said they're not going to fight now until, May, June next year, looking at, the May holiday again. So he's going to be another 9-10 months older. Canelo's just probably going to be even better because he's had more time to relax that knee that he had, operation on and whatever. But I don't think there is any other fight for Golovkin, really, apart from the third fight with Canelo. Like, what else? Like you said, Billy Joe, nah. Lemieux rematch, nah, no one really wants to see that. And I saw Lemieux kind of calling Golovkin out. It's amazing, you know, how the hyenas come out when the lion's wounded a bit. But again, that's just boxing, man. When he's the beast, no one mentions his name. But as soon as he's wounded a bit, everyone kind of jumps towards him. But yeah, and for Canelo, there are decent fights, you know, like possibly the Charlo fight there, and depending on what happens with Andre and Billy Joe. But financially, like the third fight does make sense. But before we move on, Kimo, I just wanted to get your point on. So no, I had one more point about Golovkin leaving the ring. Like, I heard a saying many years ago, and it stuck by me. And the saying is, it's not how you look when you're winning, it's how you look. Oh, sorry, it's not how you act when you're winning, it's how you act when you're losing. And I totally agree with that. It's always easy to act good when, you know, everything's on your side, but it's when you need to, you know, eat some humble pie. And him leaving the ring like that, nah, I don't think it was good, man, personally. But yeah, what's your take on Howard Lederman, man? I personally now am starting to think that he doesn't know which one's Canelo and which one's Golovkin, because every time there's like a obvious round for either guy, he gives the round to the other guy. It's like
he was on crack or something. I don't know what the fuck this guy was doing. Especially for this fight, it was quite evident, and I stopped paying attention to it after a while, because it's exactly like you said. He was like scoring the opposite of what we were thinking. So I don't know what that guy's on, man. But HBO just in general is a bit all over the place, man. Like I love Lampley, and I'll fucking love listening to his voice, you know, till the day I die. But Kellerman is just, he's become unbearable for me. Like, really, I just cannot stand the fucking guy anymore. I don't mind him that much when he's just commentating, but once he gets a fucking camera and a microphone in his hand, like these 1 minute build up questions, you know, and actually, now that I mention it, like his commentary was also a bit off, man. Like he had a bit of we had quite an agenda this fight. I don't know, man. This whole crew seems to be shot, and then it's not surprising to me, because the whole channel is just not really passionate about boxing anymore, and I think it's rubbing off a little bit on these guys too. Like, they just don't get to work that often anymore, you know. So I was not happy with this at all. Roy is always a bit entertaining, you know, just because of the way he speaks. Lampley's got, you know, he's got the voice and the one-liners and stuff like that, but Letterman, man, and then Kellerman, they can fucking go, seriously.
Kimo, I
can't stand.
I don't think you've done it for a while, man, and I don't think the people that listen to the podcast have heard you do a Letterman. So give us a Letterman, bro.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Let's do it a bit later in the show, man, because this Dr. Pepper is fucking getting to me right. 29, 28, yeah. It's I used to do always the Pacquiao fights, right? Like that was the
Manny Pacquiao.
Against Eric El Terrible Morales. That was those were good times. But I've never given a fuck about his scorecard. Like he was always just about just coming in and talking. Like I don't even care what he says about this. I just want him to fucking say and the intros as well. You know, he never does that anymore. He always used to do what was he always saying? Lampley would always kick it to him in the beginning, you know, and then they show the picture of the two fighters, and then oh god, he would always talk about how we're gonna stop the fight and things like that. Like that was the best part of Letterman, like just explaining the rules. But he doesn't do that anymore on HBO, right? I don't think he does.
It's probably probably a good reason, man. He'll probably just talk some nonsense.
Yeah, no, it's you cannot be saved by the bell in any of the rounds, including the 12th and final round. Jim! Oh, that was good shit, man.
That was...
yeah, but he's fucking done. They're all getting old, man. You know what I mean? Like, that generation is moving on. Unfortunately, we're stuck with, God, Mauro Ranallo and Sugar Ray Leonard soon as well. He's going to come back. Fuck me. I'll mention that later. It's not looking good for the zone, but yeah.
All right, Dan.
Was there anything else you wanted to mention about the fight?
Personally, no. I know Dan's jumped on and he's time limited, so I think I'll throw the mic to him. Lim?
Daniel. Well, obviously, like him, he's not going to respond at the right moment.
Yeah, he's probably like muted himself or driving or
Or
doing
watching
something.
Canelo heavy bag videos.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, now he's hung up on us. So, should we kill a few
Well,
minutes see if he comes back before we move on to a different fight, or should we just
yeah,
quickly?
yeah, sure. By the way, I wanted to respond as well to what you said about the way you look when you lose. Man, it's so true, and it's something in combat sports that really shows the character of a fighter. You know, like there's some guys, and to be honest, I don't want to make this an MMA discussion, but I've seen this so much in MMA because it's a big topic there. Because when the biggest stars like fall from their throne, you know, like some people just kind of rise up to it, accept defeat, you know, like McGregor, or you have somebody like Ronda Rousey who just absolutely fucking has a mental collapse and cannot, you know, just mentally accept the fact that she lost. And
Who?
Honda Housey.
Why are we talking about Honda Housey?
Now, I was just giving an example. Cam was saying, like, you need to, you know, it's the way that you look when you lose. And I was giving the example of our King McGregor, that he looks fantastic in defeat always, you know?
And which boxer are we comparing him to? To GGG?
Well, we're just saying that GGG was a bit of a sore loser when he left the ring.
I love saying GGG because that's how Jamal says it. Like GGG. So, GGG. You can get that work.
I prefer Gennady Golovkin.
I know, but he is a bit of a cunt, so I try not to say it like that too many times because that is my uncle after all. But I just think
I like your
Triple
uncle,
G
man.
is I don't. I think he's a cunt. I think Triple G is man. Oh man.
Hold on. First of all, did you see the fight?
Are you kidding me, dude? Are you seriously asking me that question?
Come on, bro.
Say it, bro.
He set you up for imitating me, bro.
Yeah, I saw the fight too. It was pretty cute. It was pretty cute. A lot of action, a lot of back and forth, a lot of boxing involved. I would say. Yeah, I don't know what to say, guys. It's a great fucking fight. What else can I say? My boy Canelo is alpha as fuck, man, and I don't know what else to say, dude. Like, I only have a couple of minutes. I'll just go off on a rant, and a very specific rant that might be a little bit head scratching for a bit, but bear with me. Living in California, Triple G, I think, try to make a claim. Yeah, hype me up, bro. Hype me up like Jamal hypes up Jamal.
Man, I'm just gonna be like Skip, just sitting here going,
Skip. Yeah, keep doing that. Yeah, lick your lips while you're at it too. But Canelo, or Triple G rather, and Tom Loeffler, they tried this initiative, like back in 2004, you know what I'm saying? They try to make Triple G into this monster, you know, fighting a bunch of bums and cans and all these other just low-level, C-level fighters at the Forum or at the StubHub, and they try to make him to be this monster. And I agree, I think Triple G was a monster at one point, but when he fought all these bums, I think he got a little bit worse just because his competition was so shitty. And what I hated the most was the fact that he would try to get the fans of Mexican Americans primarily, and you'd see these guys with Mexicans for GGG on their shirts and shit, and they just made him up to be this monster, and yet these fans would shit on Canelo. And by no means am I saying that if you're Mexican you have to root for Canelo. That's obviously not true at all. You can go for whoever the fuck you want to, but by doing that they were disparaging Canelo as if Canelo isn't some like fucking alpha machismo fighter who fucking brings it, as he did on Saturday. And if you're going to talk all that shit and you're going to keep running your fucking mouth, like my boy Jamal says, in the lead up to this fight, and say that Canelo was running the entire first fight, and yet this is a junior middleweight that went up a weight class and fought this so-called monster in his first two fights at 160 and bullied your guy for 9 to 10 rounds out of the 12 rounds in that fight. I mean, what bearing, like on what footing could you possibly stand on moving forward? Like, I think his career is a fucking joke if he doesn't redeem himself from this loss. I mean, a lot of it is not his fault, obviously. A lot of people ducked him very early on in his career because he was very impressive, like I just alluded to. But at the same time, if you look at his resume in his three biggest contests, they're one loss, one draw, and one, I don't know, I think he did get the majority decision against Danny Jacobs, but I scored that fight for Danny. He has nothing on his resume that establishes him as one of the best middleweights like not even like maybe a top 10 middleweight of all time, but even then I'm not quite sure. I don't know the history of the weight division well enough to make such a description, but I think I'm just so happy. I'm just so proud of my boy Canelo. Triple G, I have to give Triple G props too, because if you don't give Triple G props, you can't really give Canelo props. But I didn't really score the fight. I thought it was probably another draw, just because Triple G did do a lot of good work on his back foot, and the jab was an issue. But I mean, just props to Canelo for dictating the entire pace of the fight. He was a little bit lighter in this fight, which was really, really discernible from the very beginning of the fight. Triple G looked a lot bigger, but just for Canelo to just always be on his front foot, pressing the action, and GGG not doing shit about it was pretty embarrassing. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, for all those Golovkin tards out there with the Mexicans for Triple G shirts, you should feel ashamed of yourself, man. You were shitting on the true Mexican while this guy was trying to get, little scraps and pieces of your fan base to sell tickets. You should feel like you've gotten hoodwinked, because that's exactly what happened. They used you as a marketing scheme to get fans for him. And now that he's 35 or 36 and Canelo is a young dog at 26 or 27, I mean, that's pretty much the end for your boy. So Canelo has another, 3 to 4 years left in his prime. And I want him to take the De La Hoya route. I want him to fight the best competition at that weight class. I want him to fight Jacobs. I want him to fight the winner of Billy Ho and Boo Boo Andre. I want him to fight Jamal. I want him to fight Jermell when he moves up. And I just want to see him fight the best, man. And if he goes, 500 with that kind of opposition, but he can still kind of present us with these high-level fights, I think he'll go down as an all-time great. I mean, he's already has the all-time great, Snake. It's one of the most impressive snakes of the entire sport. So why not just back it up with another all-time great placard next to his name, right? I'm just so proud of my guy, man. It's like watching your little brother just do something really amazing with his life. Like, that's how I feel about Canelo, dude. Like,
Lim,
it's crazy, bro. Like, he was a young gun. He was coming up in Golden Boy. Everyone shat on him. Everyone said he wasn't shit once he got hurt by Hatton and Abner Cotto, and his fight against not Macklin, but against Shane Mosley. They all thought he was a hype job, that he was a pussy. But this guy has a hell of a chin. He has a granite fucking chin. He's just a badass, man.
Lim, towards the start of your rant, you mentioned that Triple G needs to redeem himself. Redeem himself how?
Yeah, but he isn't. Like, he needs to win. He needs to win very clearly. And I don't think that's going to happen. And I thought he won the first fight. I'm totally comfortable saying that. I think most people thought he won the first fight. And I think most people thought he won the second fight too. But my only issue is that the way that he won it is so entirely different from his entire status quo, or the image that he tried to build up all these years, that it's kind of embarrassing. It's like, even if you do win the fight technically, based on the addition of total rounds in a fight, I don't think he won the narrative of the fight.
Do you see a third happening?
No, because Tom Laughlin wants him to take a break until next May. He's going to be a year older. Canelo's going to be more fresh. He's probably going to be better acclimated for that weight class. And I think in the third fight, Canelo will knock him out. I thought Canelo should have knocked him out in this fight too, but he gassed out again.
Wow, I don't think he was close to knocking Golovkin out. Somebody needs to really put a pasting on this guy to knock him out.
A knockout by body shots. My boy GGG did not look good in there after the fourth or fifth round. I don't recall properly, but he was breathing very, very heavily, and I thought Canelo could have gotten him out of there had he pressed the action. But I don't know. I just think it's going to happen at some point. Triple G, he's too old, man. I don't know what else to say. He's not a very good athlete, and I don't know. It doesn't help that you're trained by Abel Sanchez too. I'm sure you're always miserable when you have to listen to that guy talk for a good 2-3 minutes. I don't know, bro.
Yeah, Lim, you do make a good point though.
Do I? I felt like I was just rambling, dude.
No, you were rambling. I'm just talking about one particular point, not everything.
Okay, so you're saying everything else was shit except that one point that you're about to mention. Okay. What is it?
Basically, but the thing about Golovkin's resume, it is kind of unfortunate that he has, and that may be, just that we're holding him to a certain standard as well. But until he fought Jacobs, basically.
Danny.
Yeah. The resume was piss poor, you know what I mean? And when you look at it from
I think the Macklin fight wasn't that terrible, and the Aussie guy that he fought wasn't that terrible either.
But in the
hindsight,
perspective of looking at a middleweight grade, because that's the standard that we're talking about with this guy, right? Like that is not a good resume, right?
It's
like
terrible.
That's not something. Yeah, exactly. It's fucking terrible.
I mean, I don't know if you want to sugarcoat it, but it's terrible.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, like Canelo's a junior middleweight moving up, man. And you fought this guy twice, and you can't get him out of there. Like, an all-time great should get rid of somebody like Canelo when they're moving up a weight class.
And Canelo, if he continues fighting this level of opposition, I mean, he's going to have an incredible resume. He has a great resume already. I mean, look at the guys he's fought. Yeah, some guys were smaller here and there, but man, he's fought a lot of fights that we didn't expect him to fight. And even at such a young age, like, you got to respect that shit.
Yeah, he's 27.
28 now, right?
No, he's 27.
It's incredible. I mean, look at his look. This is the type of resume that Golovkin should have had at the end of his career, and he has it entering the prime of his life. So
come on, Lim. You don't even know your own boy's date of birth. He's 28, Lim.
Yeah, he is 28.
Man, I knew he was 28. I wanted him to be a little bit younger so that I could continue fantasizing about him, which I do quite often.
Too often.
I think he'll age gracefully, bro.
Huh?
I think he'll age gracefully. Don't worry about it.
I don't think so, man. He's got the polka dot red skin. I don't think that ages very well with sunlight. You know what I'm saying? So he is. I do like him a little bit thicker, though. I must admit.
He looked small, didn't he?
He did. He looked really skinny, bro.
Yeah, he looked really small, but he looked better like that.
Nah, I don't know. I guess for selfish reasons, I like him a little bit thicker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but even if you're with him, like, you don't want him to gas out after 2 minutes. Like, he can just keep going now. He's got stamina.
Man, no man can take that level of punishment from Canelo for more than 2 minutes in any other circumstances, if you catch my drift. In a boxing ring, perhaps, but I can't imagine, like, what the ladies have to go through, man. The pounding must be just brutal.
Okay. This is getting a bit
Dude,
disgusting.
It's crazy, man. My boy Canelo, I don't think people really know this, but Canelo has a different girlfriend, like, every week, bro.
But isn't the mother of his daughter like his constant girlfriend or what?
I don't know. I know he has two daughters, and obviously the daughter that he first had was with a different chick, but I was just randomly looking up Canelo on like Mexican gossip sites, and like every single week it's a different girl that Canelo spotted with. It's crazy, man.
Lim Googling Mexican gossip sites.
But you can't believe that shit, man. That could be like just a friend, you know what I mean?
Hey, where there's smoke. Oh yeah, you think Canelo just has friends? Just some girls chilling around his home that make some fucking food and shit. Nah, man, my boy Canelo's smashing, bro. He is smashing. But anyways, until that was a great fucking fight. I'm so happy for Canelo. The word on the street is that he's coming back.
Did you see Oscar's reaction?
I did, yeah. He's very happy. Yeah, but anyways, I'm out. I'm just super excited for the Conor McGregor Khabib press conference in 2 hours, or in an hour, excuse me. So if any of you guys want to catch titillating action, you must tune into YouTube/UFC for the greatest press conference of the fucking king, man, because he's back. I'm so excited.
Thank you, Liv.
Surprise. Good, king is back.
Alright, fuck off.
Alright, Gimo, anything else regarding Triple G or Canelo or any other fallout?
What did you think of his point about the resume, Cam? Do you agree with him or not? Because it is a little bit like lacking in general, but then if you look at the key fights that he's had, he hasn't really come through. Just take away the whole age aspect and all of that, but it's not looking too impressive, is it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's a combination of the fact that people didn't really want to fight him at certain times, so he was just fighting people like Stevens and Murray and Lemieux. But also combined with the fact that in the last 5-6 years, middleweight division has kind of been weak, really, man. Like it's not been a classic of the weight classes, and we've said this from the start of the show, really. Like 160 was kind of a dead division apart from the odd names. So yeah, like when all is said and done, and Golovkin's retired, man, I think they're gonna look back and be a bit upset with like how his career panned out, because he's not going to be a memorable dude, in my opinion.
Yeah, but also one factor is that he started, gaining momentum quite late in his career, right? Like he's not a guy that, like Pacquiao, for example, that started when he was really young, getting notoriety in the U.S., right? Like Golovkin just came in quite old already, and he kind of had to play catch up a little bit. He got a lot of push from HBO, and that worked out well. But before you know it, boom, he's like 34, 35, and he's already, especially with that kind of style, he's just regressing already a little bit. So it's a combination of different factors. But
just quickly, before we move on, you made a point which made me remember a point I wanted to make, that for such an accomplished amateur, for a guy that's also been an accomplished professional, like, how can you just forget to go to the body? I know I don't want to rant on about the body, but it's like it was a big part of your games, for the majority of your life or of your career, and like it's just, where did it go, man? I just find it astounding. But even the uppercut, with Canelo having the high guard, like the right uppercut from Golovkin was a key punch, and he did land it quite a few times, but he needed more of it, man, because Canelo was kind of standing over his own lead foot, and the opportunities for the uppercut were there, and maybe throw the uppercut and then the hook, because obviously he's going to bring his hands high and then he exposes his midriff. So yeah, it's a shame, man. I don't want to go on about it, but yeah, I'm pretty much done with that fight, Kimo.
Yeah, it is weird, Cam. And the thing is, one thing I like about, as one of the few things I like about the media, is that they've actually pressed this question a lot of times to him and his camp, like, where's the body work? Where's the body work? I never really got a straight answer from these guys. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I have seen the question posed many times. And yeah, from Golovkin, you're not going to get an answer. Like, he just says some random shit that makes no sense. But even from Abel, like, you always get a very weird political answer that doesn't really tell you much. Like, and you're right. Like, Canelo does have a high guard a lot of times, and there is opportunity. Plus, he's really hard to hit to the head, so you got to go to the body. And for somebody who's had questionable stamina, why the fuck don't you go to the body? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Are you going to is there a risk of getting countered? Yes, but that risk has always been there, right? And for somebody with such a sturdy ass fucking chin, it's very strange, Cam. I always think, like, as soon as somebody gets old, and you see that with many fighters, they simply just can't pull the trigger anymore, so they resort to maybe quote unquote safer punch combinations, which aren't as creative. When guys are in their prime and they're, they have that energy and that aggression. You see it, for example, with a guy like Pacquiao as well. Like, they start throwing these fucking wild combinations and are more willing to just go in guns blazing with body shots and creative shots to the top of the head. But Golovkin has, like I said before, has become a jab-based fighter. And it doesn't only seem to be related to, like, his willingness to pull the trigger. I just get the feeling that he's just, kind of consciously in his head doesn't really fight like that anymore. Because the Golovkin that I know from the younger years would never just let a guy just come forward like that, who's got decent pop but not crazy power, and just jab, take a little step back, jab again. Like, he barely threw combinations in the first half of the fight. Like that I don't really understand what the issue is here. Maybe it is age, maybe it's a conscious choice. I don't know, but it is very, very strange. And it's like you said, it's his bread and butter, and it opens up so many different aspects to his game. Like, he would make guys drop their guard, and then he would, for example, come over the top, and he makes them lower their hands by having that threat to the body. Because before, like, that any moment, like, the guy can go downstairs and break your fucking ribs. So how do you defend? It creates a weird complex for these fighters, right? And he just doesn't have that anymore. He gives them only one threat, right? So it's much easier to deal with. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna get that back, Cam. I think that ship has sailed. I think that's body punching Golovkin is gone.
Yeah, unfortunately. PM Versus in the mixed chat said, Mosley said the same thing. You get older and something becomes tentative inside. Yeah, I think that's the only conclusion I see, Kim. I think you're totally right. Like, you just lose something where when you were younger, you had more maybe risk reward in your mind, and as you get older, you don't want to take those risks anymore. But yeah, anything else, Kimo?
No, I think that's pretty much it, man. I'm hearing as well, by the way, that the fight did really well in terms of numbers. So happy to hear that. And it deserves it. It was a fantastic fucking fight. And yeah, man, I'm just super happy, dude. It's been a while since we've had, a proper big fucking boxing event that lived up to the expectations. And for me, the last one was AJ Klitschko, where you have those what the fuck moments, and there's so much at stake. And this was another one of them. Maybe not as dramatic, obviously, but with the whole background story, with the changing of styles, everything was just great, man. I'm super, super happy. I've already watched the fight, 3-4 times, and I'm going to continue watching it. It's a fascinating fucking fight to watch, and highly skilled as well from both guys. So my hats off go to these gentlemen.
I know you're a 1080p guy anyway, but that's definitely a fight that you want on your computer in HD.
I know, man. It's proper HD in it.
Proper. All right, let's move on to undercard. Lemieux spinning Gary O'Sullivan, Spike O'Sullivan round like a top, man. That was a clean left hook, man, on his face.
I mean, this had to be one of the easiest fights to predict in the year, right? Like, we said this was going to happen. And kaboom. He just ended it. Some people were mentioning that Spike quit. I think it was Leon, I'm not sure. But, I don't think he quit, man. He was just out of it. Even when he stood up, you could see, he didn't know where the fuck he was. And he just got smashed. And it is kind of enjoyable to watch somebody talk a lot of shit and then get in the ring and then get slept within a round. There's just something about that which is so satisfying. So I thoroughly enjoy that. I'm still a Lemieux fan, by the way. I still love watching the guy fight. Yeah, he's limited. He's never going to be a crafty guy or whatever, but the dude can fucking bang, bro. He can fucking punch.
He was big as well compared to Spike. Spike's kind of got a medium type of frame, and Lemieux really filled out after the weigh-in. I think unofficially this is maybe with him stepping on the scale with clothes on, but I think he's over 175 pounds, man. That's a lot of weight to add in one day, man. Crazy.
Lemieux's in the last 3 to 4 years, it's always his waistline, which looks massive, right? His core area is, sometimes it looks really fleshy, but sometimes it just looks like a bunch of mass, he used to look a lot slimmer back in the day. He was more trimmed down. He looked more athletic. And nowadays he just, I don't know what it is. I think he just takes shortcuts when it comes to weight cutting, and he's not as well trimmed up from just, his strength and conditioning, but he probably just cuts a shitload of water weight. Probably quite dangerous as well, but, he rehydrates to crazy amounts. It's if he makes the weight, I have no fucking issue with it, but he's had a lot of issues before, so it is a bit alarming. But, you could see it, man, in the ring. Spike looked quite small compared to him, and he came forward, and we said last time, if he comes forward, he's going to pay the price, and he did.
Yep, definitely. Quickly, we were talking about Canelo and Triple G, possibly refighting again in May, but I've read that maybe they want Canelo out in December. Would you be happy if Lemieux was the opponent of Canelo in December?
I'll take that fight. This was a hard fight for Canelo. I make no mistake about it. He got hit. So if he wants to take somebody like Lemieux, maybe who's a bit, it's not exactly a light fight, but it's somebody that fits him a little bit more. Canelo does really well against these type of styles. I have no issue with it, and it'll be an action-packed fight because Lemieux's going to come. So I have no issues with that fight, man. Really not at all. It's a decent fight. I don't expect him to take a Charlo next or whatever. That's I just don't see that happening, man. I really don't.
We talked about how bad HBO have been lately. There's rumors about Canelo possibly leaving or Triple G leaving. You see any of that or any?
Mate, that would stick a fork in the network, right?
Yeah. What would they have left? Superfly 4.
I don't see a point in continuing to air something like that. Like like HBO is interested in money as well, right? So this is their only money making, fight that they have, and I don't see the network really continuing. Like they have one foot out the door already, and if these guys jump ship, I don't know if they will. To what? To the Zone?
The Zone.
Or what, ESPN maybe? I don't know. What do you think?
What does Katie Taylor think?
She's just so very thankful, Cam. I just want to thank her to her in the matchroom. But it's, I don't know. I can't imagine Canelo on the Zone. There's just something about that that's weird.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense to me. He's an HBO fighter for me. Like he just belongs on HBO. But I don't know.
I do agree to that, but yeah, money talks, and if the Zone are paying him big bills, then I see him going over.
The thing is, though, Cam, like Canelo from now on, and he has been for a while, is a pay-per-view fighter, right? Regardless of who he fights. I don't see them just putting on like a boxing after dark versus Lemieux. Like that's gonna be pay-per-view. So, HBO might just stick around and just make a little bit of cash with the HBO pay-per-view, But apart from that, they don't give a fuck about boxing anymore, man. Like Leon said, if it doesn't have dragons, they don't care.
That was a good quote, actually. But all right, moving on. Let's talk about your boy, man, Roman Gonzalez.
Chocolatito.
Chocolatito. He kind of took a round and a half to maybe start to get going, but when he did, started to put his punches together pretty well and got a pretty impressive KO. However, Kimo, I still think he looks a bit soulless, man.
Mate, it's weird. I would probably agree with you. I'm glad he did well. Like I was so paranoid about this that I was really worried when I saw them face to face as well, because of the size difference. But yeah, there's levels to this shit, right? And obviously, Chocolatito is way more fucking skilled, and he wasn't that completely shot yet that he can't really, execute his game plan or whatever. But his face looks weird. I don't know what it is. Like his face looks old. Like he's not. I don't know what it is. Like his hair's a bit longer. He's got a lot of wrinkles in his face. Like his nose looks a little fucking busted up. He just looks old.
It just looks like he doesn't want to be there, man. Like he's kind of, like you said, like regarding HBO having one foot out the door. It seems like he's just going through maybe the last few years just to maybe recoup a bit more money, because I don't know if you noticed, when he stopped Fuentes and like he went over, even though Fuentes was like out of it, like you should let the doctor kind of get in there. He kind of went over there and like, yeah, like kind of touch gloves and like, all right, sorry about that. And then I couldn't really see what happened after that. I don't know if Gonzalez's corner went over to help Fuentes as well as Fuentes' own corner and the doctors, but there was just like a constant, camera on Choco in his own corner, looking kind of depressed, even though he just got an impressive knockout, still covered in like blood and sweat because his corner haven't wiped him down and stuff. And he just looked like an old puppy waiting to get shot outside the vet.
Jeez.
It just looked weird, man.
That's a harsh comparison, Cam. Jesus. Just put him to sleep.
Just end it now.
Yeah, I think there was maybe he had a bit more of a killer instinct back in the day, like where he doesn't give a fuck whether he hurts a guy or not. But he's always been a very nice guy, Cam. Like he was genuinely concerned when he slept Fuentes.
Yeah. Like
afterwards, like straight away, he came and he actually like, because people were not really helping him in the beginning, like they weren't doing the right thing. And I think I remember Choco was like pointing to his mouthpiece, like take that shit out, like dude, the guy is fucking gone. Like you need to get on him right now. Yeah. So I kind of appreciated that actually, but I do get your point. Like he does have a certain demeanor about him where his, the
his shoulders are slumped down. Gone. Like he's got no, like there's no, like his body has no kind of positivity. It's just like even in the win, he looked like if you like looked at the picture of him in the corner, you'd think he had lost the fight rather than he just won it. fair enough. I understand that, maybe he was concerned for Fuentes, and I appreciate that as well. I always like the nice guys at boxing, and, even though they're there to take each other's head off, it doesn't mean that they have to hate each other, and I appreciate that. But, yeah, man, he's just lacking something for me. Like, I don't want to, like, kick a guy when he's down, because I've always loved Choco. Like, you and Naoto really got me into him, like, when we started doing, like, I think 2013, and that's when I kind of started focusing on him, and I was so impressed with him. But he has had the decline since, especially going up to Superfly. And you said it to me over the weekend, like, you can't remember the last time you saw his abs, because he's just at a weight that he shouldn't be at.
No, and he's just not willing to sacrifice that anymore in the later stages of his career. He just doesn't want to. He's a guy that grew up in extreme poverty, and now he's got money. He's probably enjoying his steaks, and he just doesn't want to deal with that heavy of a weight cut. Like, at the end of the day, if you look at old footage of his weigh-ins, like, it's a heavy cut for him. Like, he doesn't. It's not an easy process. So he's just, again, that hunger, no pun intended, is just literally gone, and he's just not willing to pay that price anymore, man, for making weight and having that size advantage a little bit as well. So, he's had a fantastic career, Cam. This happens to everybody, and as sad as it may be, watching him get fucking slept in real life when we were there, like, this happens to most fighters, and like Lim said, it's probably going to happen to Golovkin. It's going to happen to most fighters. So it's just a natural progression of the sport. And as high as the highs are, in boxing, the lows are pretty fucking low. So if he's wise, I hope he's saved up quite a bit of money and he calls it a day very soon, because I don't want him to fight another guy on the level of Srisaket, or Estrada and get laid out again. Because, for example, if he would fight Estrada in this shape or form, I don't see him doing very well. It could be a dangerous fight for him again. Estrada he might actually get away with, because Estrada is not that aggressive, but Srisaket is just all wrong for him, because he is bigger, younger, stronger, and a hard puncher. Like, that is the prototype guy that you don't want to face at the end of your career. Yeah. So I don't know, man. He's given us so many great moments. For me, I don't need to see this again. However, that one thing I must mention, though, Cam, like, that knockout was fucking ruthless, though, right? Like, that was a big KO for the guy, for the small dudes. Like, it was another example of how Chocolatito has fantastic power and technique.
Yeah, he just caught him straight on the button in the exchange, and it was lights out. But you mentioned Estrada, and I don't know if you saw Superfly 3, but Estrada wasn't looking too great. I don't know if he just maybe didn't respect his opponent and didn't take it as serious, but he was getting hit a lot, man. I think Estrada-Gonzalez rematch would be quite competitive, but I do hope that happens, actually. I think it's a fight that can easily be made with, like, low flow working with both guys, so fingers crossed.
It might get him that final paycheck to give him incentive to retire, because, again, there's just not a lot of money in that division, and that is a classic rematch that we've been waiting for a while. So, I don't know. I feel like Estrada is a weirdo. He reminds me a little bit of Marquez in the sense that he almost fights down to the level of his opponent. I think he's a lot better than that, Cam. And he's still young, I don't think he's aged or whatever, but he, he's weird, man. He looks fucking brilliant against good opposition, but sometimes he just fights down to the level of his opponent. I don't really know why, but against Choco, I still would favor Estrada right now.
Wow, you'd favor Estrada over Choco?
Right now? Fuck yeah, dude. Look at the guy.
I even though, like, I spent like 10 minutes shitting on Choco, like, I think fighting Estrada in a rematch would kind of bring the best out of him.
I don't know, man. It could be because he'll need to come forward, obviously, like he always does. And Estrada is just a good counter puncher. Man, I will always, like, if this is a betting thing, I would always bet on the fresher, younger guy, man, honestly. Especially after seeing just, the shape and the physical form that he's in at the moment. I wouldn't bet the house on Chocolatito, unfortunately. But maybe he surprises us. We don't know, like Pacquiao came back after such a massive knockout and looked pretty damn good, but again, Pac always looked in good shape physically. Like Choco just doesn't, you know.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time having a lot of faith in that, man.
All right, last card that was on the pay-per-view. Sorry, the last fight on the pay-per-view. Jaime Munguia versus Brandon Cook. Cook was supposed to fight Kell Brookman. Probably didn't. Good job he didn't, because he probably would have iced again. But Cook didn't offer anything really for me. Like he was very small compared to Munguia, but obviously Munguia's just a massive 54-pounder. But Cook, like even his punches didn't have much conviction. It's like he was thinking about escaping before his punches even landed, because he was worried about what was coming back. And Munguia kind of showed me a bit more of a jab, a bit more fundamentals, 1-2s and stuff. But I think once he gets into the pocket, he just bangs away, and Cook didn't have any type of defense to stop any of that. And yeah, it's pretty fun while it lasted, but nothing difficult for Munguia.
Cook's a bum, bro. I'm sorry. He's just not that good. Munguia's fun, man. Like I think I remember saying it last show. Like you put that dude on a fucking undercard, and he's just a joy to watch, because the fight's not gonna last very long. You know, you're gonna get some action to get people warmed up, and you know it gets everybody in the mood for a good main event. So I'm all for watching this kid, man. By the way, I forgot, for some reason, I was browsing Boxing Scene today, that he's fucking 21 years old.
Yeah, he's young,
22? Man. He is fucking crazy young. I mean, incredible. 21.
And I think that was his third fight this year.
Yeah. Well, it's nice that he stays active, man. That's only going to do him good.
No,
as long as he doesn't get into crazy reports.
I'm wrong, Chemo. That was his fifth fight this year. He fought in February, March, May against Saddam Ali, July against Liam Smith, and this past weekend. So that's crazy active for especially for a belt holder now as well.
No, it's really good. And even though he fights really aggressively, he hasn't really taken crazy amounts of damage, you know, unlike some other guys like Sam Eggington. So it's fine, you know. He stays active. He's young. He stays sharp. It's only a positive thing.
Yep, definitely. Okay, anything else regarding that pay-per-view card?
No, man, just overall fucking great card, I thought. So, bless. Thank you.
All right. The day before that card, Friday the 14th, we had a great fight in Fresno. Jose Ramirez versus Antonio Orosco. I did mention it last show that I thought it might be a bit of a sleeper fight for September. And Golovkin, obviously, and Canelo outshined it, but only slightly, man, because Kimo, you just watched this fight before we went on air, and you're pretty impressed.
Oh, absolutely. It was a fantastic fight. A little one-sided, to be honest, like to make it into like a fight of the year type of material, because Ramirez was pretty fucking dominant, right? But there was just a lot of great action, and man, Orosco is one tough son of a bitch. Like seriously, the amount of punches that this guy took, and he just kept on surviving, and he was close to getting stopped quite a few times, but every time he would just throw back enough, so that
and he would land as well. Like
it.
He'd be like shaky, and he'd throw a quick 1-2, and then like he looked like he's come back again.
Yeah, he come back stronger, man. It's he was, and it was his toughness is quite impressive, but he is a very basic fighter. He had a couple of moments like in the middle of the fight where he started just calming down a little bit and using his jab, and he does have a little bit more than just brawling, but most of the time, like he was just getting outclassed, man. And Ramirez was putting on a goddamn show. That moment where he dropped him, Cam, with the body shot, I mean, that was a triple left hook to the body. Like, and he landed with the final one clean. Like, that was incredible.
Yeah, you don't see that type of technique really that often. A lot of people just throw like one to the head and then one to the body, but doing it reverse where you throw to the body then throw to the body again is very rare, man.
Oh man, it was like 1, 2, 3, bam, and then the last one, probably because he didn't expect it to come back again. Like, he just caught him, and it's impressive. I think that right hand that he dropped him with in the beginning, man, that was so fucking flush. But he didn't quite fully extend on the punch. I think if he would have stood back, a couple of inches more, and he would really be able to stretch that right hand out, he would have probably put him to sleep, man, because that was just so fucking clean on the chin.
I don't know, like, Orosco seems like a tough... Well, he is a tough dude. He's shown us on Friday, but I kind of disagree with you for a few points. I think... I give Orosco 3 rounds. The judges, all 3 of them only give him 1 round. I thought that was very harsh. Like, it was a kind of competitive, one-sided fight, but, like, to give him 1 round was pretty unfortunate for Orosco, but... The other point I disagree is him being basic. I don't think he's basic. I think he just fought the wrong game plan. Like, he would fight fire with fire, and against Ramirez, I think that was the wrong thing to do because Ramirez is heavier handed, and Orosco would kind of get into the pocket, he would take a shot, and then he would just fire back 2 more, but then he'd be open to the counters coming back, and he was just getting... He was kind of landing 2 but taking 4. Obviously not very well... Not very good tactic mathematically, and I don't know. I think he could have, like, in the fight, he's shown signs where he could have maybe boxed, got into the pocket, did his business, and step out. Like, there were rounds where he did that, and they're the rounds that I gave him, but he didn't do it often enough, which is a shame. And regarding Orosco, I think it's going to be difficult for him going on in the future because who's really going to fight him? Like, he's going to give any 140-pounder a tough fight. Imagine him and Taylor. Like, that would be a fucking, like, fight of the year candidate type of fight, man.
That would be a straight up fucking shootout, man.
Yeah, and the issue is with him having his weight problems. Like, our promoters going to want to, like, invest in, setting up a show, press conferences, the fighters having their camps, and then on the day of the weigh-in, like, Orosco turns up like 5 pounds overweight. Like, you really want to do that? I think the only thing he's going to have now is maybe go back, build up again, and try and get into another position of, a fight with a guy that's willing to fight you, or become mandatory again, because I can't personally see a lot of guys fighting him for a title on a voluntary basis. It's going to have to be a mandatory.
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. Just to get back to the point you were saying about Orosco being able to do more, I don't know, man. It's hard. Like, he just dealt with a lengthier, more skillful fighter in any aspect of the game, right? Like, Ramirez was putting him at the end of his jab a lot of times as well, where he couldn't really do much on the inside. He didn't really have a clear advantage over Ramirez either. So, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, he's a decent fighter, but couldn't really see anything where he could impose his skill on Ramirez.
I do need to give Ramirez props though. Like, I thought he was a bit more basic, and he surprised me, man. Like,
he boxed. He boxed really well.
Yeah, his double jab was good. The reverse one too, and even in the pocket, man. Like, he was having a lot of the success, man. Like, he was landing the heavier punches, and I don't know. Maybe his performance against Imam kind of made me thought he wasn't as good as he was, but this performance, like, as much as I'm giving credit to Orosco, like, I have to give more to Ramirez, because almost in probably every aspect, like, Ramirez was better than Orosco. So yeah, props to Jose, man. I'm a fan now.
Yeah, plus he was just having fun in there, man. Like we said, he was getting creative. He was just he didn't hit him always with, like, standard combination. Like, I just have to mention it again, like that triple left hook. Like, that's some crazy shit we don't see often, and to be able to land it and drop somebody with it, I mean, I take my hat off to that shit. That's incredible. And when fighters are just enjoying themselves and letting their hands go, it's a joy to watch, man. It really is.
Bro, you knew that was going to be a good fight after that first round. That first round was fire.
Man, they just came out of the gate and started fucking throwing bombs. What's his name? Joe Tessitore, man. That's the first time I've seen him really that fired up. Like, he gets fired up for sure in fights, but this time he was, like, almost screaming, man. Like, he was loving it. And unfortunately, like, I like him, but again, we have that motherfucker Kriegel on commentary as well. Oh, God, man. Can somebody just lay that guy out somewhere in a ditch? Seriously. It's just terrible, man. Terrible. Give me his fucking job, man. Seriously. Like, I can do it way better than he can. Like, he doesn't add anything. He all of a sudden he started talking about like, oh, they're first generation Americans and blah blah blah. Mate, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you talking about? We're in the middle of a shootout and you want to give some history lessons about immigrants from Mexico. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't have any depth to do. Like, you're pretending. Yeah. Good Lord, man. Sorry, I just need to get that off my chest, Cam.
No, okay. Man, rant away, man. We all hate Kriegel, but is there anything else regarding that fight?
Nah, it was just a great fight.
All right, moving on to Saturday, September 8th, we had Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. Your thoughts, Kimo?
Oh, shit, I didn't realize we were going to talk about this. God, where do I begin? Let me put it like this. It was better than I expected, but that's not saying much. Like, that's my conclusion. But that's my conclusion of the fight. It was slightly better and a little bit more action than I expected. Also because Porter boxed a lot of times.
I know, it's like the first 3 rounds, it's like he's just totally different. It's like he was trying to like box from the back foot and like trying to get in the pocket, do his business and get out. It was crazy, man. I didn't expect that.
Well, he did that against AB kind of as well, right? But I didn't expect that against DSG. I thought he would press the action more. But yeah, he as much as we shit on Porter, he can box a little bit. I'll give him that. It's not always pretty, and
when he decides to, though.
Yeah, when he decides to, like he can do a little jab and step to the side. I mean, like, he can do it. He's not the greatest in the world, but against a formidable opponent, like, he had some success in there, and it was interesting to see. But yeah, again, a lot of the fight was, a little clinchy, little rough, like a lot of holding as well. But there was more action than I expected, so that was nice to see. I didn't score the fight, Cam, but I thought Porter deserved that, man. Garcia is just a lot of times doesn't set himself apart scoring wise and success wise. Like he'll always be in the fight, like he's never out of the fight.
Just doing enough.
He's doing just enough to kind of be in the conversation for a decision, but you can't expect things always to go your way. And when you've had a lot of questionable decisions, going for you in the past, like, you can't fucking bitch when something like this happens to you. It was a close fight, but I thought Porter, kind of had a little bit more success than him. But then afterwards, it's all the fucking drama about, his fucking deadbeat father, like, talking about how he's going to retire from boxing. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, you didn't even get a knockdown or do some serious damage. How are you going to talk about how you convincingly won the fight? Like, ridiculous. Like, I really don't get it.
Now, you bring up a great point about, his mindset, because he has had so many questionable decisions, and he never see him kind of going for broke. Danny's the type of guy that you could tell him that he's down and he needs a knockout in the 12th round, and he'll just come out and just do enough. You'd never see Danny in kind of seek and destroy mode, and I think that's his biggest problem, man. Like, against Keith Thurman, I thought I won that fight, and now against Porter, I thought I won that fight, but you didn't do enough. Like, I personally had a draw. I hate Danny, but if I had to, put my hands in the, in the air and say who won it, I'd probably say Danny probably just did enough. I thought he landed the cleaner, harder punches. Porter had the work rate and probably the aggression, but like, a lot of his punches weren't clean, personally, I think. But it was a decent fight. Like, it's not a fight that you're going to download for your computer, Chemo, in 1080p and keep it on there for years and years.
Nah, man. I watched it in batches even, man. I couldn't watch it through 12 rounds. Like, it just wasn't that good. But, man, it's weird. Like, with Garcia, I never feel like he can press the action and start going for broke, because he always fights at the same pace. Like, everything he does is at the same pace. Even his punches are always at the same speed almost. You know what I mean? Like, he has like a constant type of style, like pace-wise. Like, it's really hard to describe, but he never really, he's never really super fast and he's never really super slow. Like, it's always kind of the same mid-paced, mid-range type of fighting style. And Sometimes he'll throw in like a nice little aggressive body shot here and there, but overall it's a very, like mediocre type of temperament that he fights with. And he's got good power, but when he fights a guy that's skilled enough to avoid getting hit with a ridiculous hook, like Rob Salko or Amir Khan, like he there's not a lot that he can do to set himself apart. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by the outcome. And I never really watched a Danny Garcia fight in like the 11th or 12th round expecting him to go for broke, because I simply know that he can't and he won't, So yeah, it's I've never been a fan, man. I've never really been a fan, and he's never really in a fight where I'm thinking like, oh, I need to watch that again. Like he just isn't. So whatever, fuck him. I'm glad he lost. And Porter, at the end of the day, I might not like to watch him, but I kind of like him as a person, even though I don't like his dad. So I'm happy for him, man. I'm happy he got that.
We good friends. I love your daddy, but let's get it on.
That was the best part of the whole broadcast, man.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I love your daddy.
I didn't personally see it, but I heard he kind of took over the post-fight interviews as well and just kind of went on a drunk rant. But
no, he took over everything. watch some of the YouTube footage from him. I think Fight Hype has it, where he's just like being filled after he had a couple of more shots probably, and he just goes on a ramble for 10 minutes. It's just classic, bro. Like, I'm down with Spence. I love the whole Southern thing that he's got going on as well. It's just great.
Yeah. Undercard, Ugas fight was terrible because his opponent basically didn't want to fight. But the Adam Kownacki fight against Charles Martin, did you see it? I can talk about 5 minutes if you want, but if not, we can just move on.
Well, I didn't see it, actually. I just know that he lost, right? Which is a disaster, man. I was hyped for that shit.
Who lost? No, Charles Martin lost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wanted him to win, man. I wanted an epic comeback from the Prince.
No, it was okay. Like, Kownacki, like, he's not body beautiful, but he comes out, throws a lot of punches. He's a bit wild at time. He kind of reaches for the right hand, but like, Martin was kind of negative at the start, but it might have been part of the game plan. He came on a bit stronger in like the second half, maybe like 6th round afterwards, and started, countering Kownacki to the body and really started digging in the body shots, slowing him down and that. But I think Kownacki just did enough in the early half of the fight to get the win, but it was kind of closer than I thought it would be. I thought like Martin would just probably maybe, get whitewashed or maybe stopped late, but no, he kind of showed himself to be still maybe in the running, but yeah.
Maybe I'll go ahead and download that fight and watch it. Did Martin come out with the outfit?
And I can't remember. I don't think he did. No, I don't think he did.
Then I will not watch it. It's not worth it.
All right, Chemo, same night in Birmingham. We had the return of King Khan against Samuel Vargas. I'm going to go on a rant, so you better go first, bro.
I can't wait for this one. Fuck it, LA. I said it. I've said it so many times, Cam. Must see fucking TV. Don't care what you think about Khan, but you're going to watch it. Yeah, Vargas is not,
Just say, man, Vargas is shit.
Well, I don't want to say shit, mate, because he's. I do think he's kind of. He can hang, at a world level. He's a
top, at a European level, bro. Come on.
He's a top 20 world level guy. That's what I would say. Is that world level? I don't know what that is. Maybe I'm reaching here, but maybe the Sky terminology is rubbing off on me a little bit. But
world level,
maybe fringe world level a little bit. I don't know, but he can hang, man. But the thing is, like, Khan is. I don't know. First of all, he looked weird at the weigh-in. Like, he didn't look in that good a shape. I don't know if that's the Goosen attitude, where they just both wear denim jackets and hit the biker bar or something, and they take a couple of pints, and he's not in good shape. I don't know what it is. Maybe he doesn't favor strength and conditioning that much, and he's just all about sparring. But physically, he didn't look that good. In the fight itself, he was loose, Cam. It's the return of like 20 punch combination Khan, which I fully enjoy. But as soon as one crisp shot lands, like, he goes down, which is just fucking alarming. And I guess we've seen that before, but don't know. I kind of feel like he's worsened a little bit. His punch resistance, which was already shit before, has maybe lessened a little bit more, which is dangerous. And getting fucking knocked the fuck out by Canelo before obviously hasn't helped it either. So overall, man, like, it was an exciting fight. It was a lot of back and forth. Khan was letting loose some crazy ass combinations that made me go like, ow, like going crazy when I was watching it. And I just enjoyed it, man. And I want to see more. I want to see more of Khan. Keep putting him on Sky. I'll let you go now, and then we're probably going to talk about the elephant in the room, which was Kell Brook. But you go ahead first.
The elephant in the room, that's a good term. He was looking a bit chunky as well.
Fat motherfucker. Go ahead.
I don't know. I thought he looked pretty terrible, man. The first few, he looks good when he's putting all the punches together, but his defense is so lucky that the left hand always comes down to his like midriff. It's never like protecting that chin, bro. Kimo, if you had a chin that bad, you gotta protect that mofo, man. Like, you gotta have your hands up, man. And you're getting dropped by Vargas, and bro, like, I don't want to sound like I'm some boxing expert, right? But even if you're Khan yourself, but even if his training team, like, if you say, okay, you get clipped, you go down, come around, get up to one knee, take the full count, he springs back up like a chicken, right? And then he's still fucking daisy, and then obviously, the refs making him continue to fight, and then you could have had like an extra 8 seconds rest, but you decided to spring up, and now you're fucking under pressure again. It's crazy. And then this has been a Khan issue, throughout his career, based upon his styling. He throws so much, he moves so much, so you're gonna get gassed a bit. But as he's aging, it's getting worse, man. Like, he was gassed by the 6th round, and he was resorting to basically maybe 2-3 punch combinations, running to the ropes, like getting the 10-15 seconds rest, and doing the same thing again for the probably the remaining 5 rounds. It's like, to me, that's not high level boxing, man. If you're gassed by 6-7 rounds and then your output drops so badly against a mediocre fighter, and you're talking about you want Pacquiao next, I totally understand why he's ducking Brook, man, because Brook would put him into hospital personally, man.
Yeah, probably. It saddens me to admit that, but Brook would probably win if he can make the weight decently. I'd probably knock him out. But Cam, I have to challenge you a little bit on this. You seem to be talking as if you've never seen this shit before. Like, Khan has always done this. Like, he's never dealt, like, let alone the bad chin, but he's never dealt with getting hurt very well, and very smart. Like, he's not a smart fighter. Like, too much heart for Khan. Like, he just wants to, like you say, he just springs back up and starts fucking guns blazing again. Like, it's crazy. Like, nobody's ever taught him. Maybe they have taught him, but nobody's ever gotten through in his head, like, mate, when you get fucking clipped, like, you need to hold. Like, the word hold doesn't come across in his vocabulary. Like, he just doesn't know how to. Like, he is terrible at dealing with being hurt. And it's one thing to have a bad chin, but it's another thing just to not know how to fight smart. Because there's other guys, with which are a little bit shaky, around the whiskers, but they know how to deal with it, and they know how to recover. And fucking Khan is just all over the place, man. Like, he just loves to fight. And this time it was so evident again, where he just lets himself go. He just goes in there for a fucking war. But it's so entertaining, though, Cam. Like, weren't you enjoying this shit?
The first 6 rounds were fun. I thought the remaining 6 were kind of boring, to be honest. He kind of just, round after round, it was the same kind of story. Throw 3 punches, move, get 10-second rest, do the same again. But didn't they tweet out afterwards, this got like the 2nd highest ratings ever for subscription TV in the UK? It was pretty crazy, man. Like, Khan, man, people still interested in him.
Well, the funny thing is there weren't that many people in the arena, right? Like the arena wasn't a sellout by far. Like, you could see it in the stands.
I don't know,
But
it was a bit empty during like the undercard, but in the main event when they were panning around, it did seem pretty full. I know Just was at the fight, so Just tell us in the chat if the place was sold out and busy. But
he actually went to it. That's hilarious.
Well, he's from Birmingham, so it wasn't far for him to go.
Okay. And I don't judge people for going to see the King because you think you're going to go for a one-sided fight, and what you get is a 12-round war. So you get your money's worth, man. I mean, it simply is the case. Any guy that's decent is going to give Khan a good fight. So it's always exciting, man. But yeah, how long do you think he has left, Cam? Like, I think there's going to be like maybe one more like kind of tune-up fight, which isn't really a tune-up fight in this case, but one more like average guy, and then a big fight, and then he gets iced, and then it's over, right?
Yeah, like we'll probably get to Mayweather Pacquiao later, but could you see Pacquiao picking him as a future opponent maybe in the next 6 months to 9 months? I can't see it, man. I think he's just gonna have to go for Brook, cash out, and then call it a day.
I really don't know. I think. I mean, I've watched an Eddie Hearn interview where he talks about the financials of that, and I have no clue. Like, I really don't know what the details are around that and how much Pac would want and how much Khan would want. I don't give a fuck. But in general, I guess I could see it happen. Why not? I mean, they could put that shit anywhere, right? They can go back to Malaysia or Macau, whatever. They can do that anywhere, and then there will be a massive audience for it. So I wouldn't mind it, but it's for some reason this fight has kind of, declined my interest in the Brook scrap a little bit. What about you? Like, after this, it's really worrying. Like, the whole battle will be between Brook and the weight, and that will be it. Like, if Brook can make the weight, then he wins the fight, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if they both get into the ring at the same weight, then Khan's is getting iced, man. Like, his defense is so lax. If it goes beyond 6, then Khan's in trouble, man. Like, he's gonna gas out and just get iced on the ropes.
I don't think even beyond 6 count. I think just in general, like Brook, even though I despise him probably more than anybody in boxing, I think his right hand is pretty fucking solid, And when he taps him on the chin, like he's gonna fall, man. He won't be able to take that shit. Not at this stage in his career, not with that kind of conditioning either, Maybe back in the day where he had those strong legs, under Roach, like he could handle it. But now, no, I don't see it happening. His conditioning is just not good enough, man.
Yeah, I posted the picture of like him at the weigh-in for the Collazo fight and him at the weigh-in for the Vargas fight, and like it's day and night, man. He looked like he barely trained for this fight. His body just out of shape. In Collazo fight, he was ripped, man. Like his back was so big and abs are so visible, and he just looked like shit. But anything else regarding Khan?
No, I can't, man. I think you might be right as well, where he just took Vargas lightly, like. Khan has a bit of an ego as well, and maybe he was too busy doing other shit, and he thought, I can get by with 60%, but apparently he
too
could
busy
not
on those
really.
Skype sessions, man.
Skype taking over. Chemo undercard wise, I don't want to spend too much time. I think we both watched Wellborn and Langford live, and we were both enjoying it, having a back and forth on WhatsApp. But I enjoyed that rematch. Wellborn probably fair winner because of the knockdowns of Langford, but like Langford showed a lot of heart, man. He kept getting up, kept firing back. Both guys probably lacked a bit of power because apart from the knockdowns, like they were both landing kind of flush and didn't look too visibly hurt. But fun fight.
Yeah, these guys gel really well, right? And one guy kind of trying to box, but he's just never successful at it. He always gets dragged into a fucking war. And I think, like you said, I think the right guy won. Langford, props to his toughness, and his will to stay in the fight, but I don't think he did enough. But it's one of those, one of those classic Sky undercard fights that just turns into a war, and I love that shit, man. Yeah. I thrive on that shit.
Agreed. Sam Eggington, kind of a shock loss, really, man. Like, no one really knew about Hassan Maquino before the fight, and Eggington's tactics were a bit of shit, letting him, take free shots, and Maquino, he just kept loading up on power punches and just started hurting Sam in the second round, and yeah, man, ref jumped in. Pretty crazy. Didn't expect that, but they said afterwards, they said to Sam, if you get through this fight, you're going to get onto the Joshua undercard, and I think it's a classic case of looking past what's in front of you.
I don't think that's the case at all, Cam. I think Eggington is just not that good. and especially at that weight. Like, ever since he moved up, I've always had this fear because he doesn't look strong. He's not a strong guy. He wasn't even strong before. And he's just a really weak-looking, lanky guy that likes to get in wars and takes clean punches to the face voluntarily, So, but it's funny, though. Like, we were about to watch the fight, and we texted each other, like, my money's on the black guy. And it fucking happened, you know what I mean? Like, he iced. And because he looked sturdy. As soon as I saw them in the ring together, like, I looked at the guy. I was like, well, he looks in shape, even though he was kind of a last-minute guy. Like, he looks in shape. So if he has any boxing skills whatsoever, if he can fight a little bit, you're going to give Sam Eggington trouble, man, because Egg is so fucking basic, right? He is a lanky-ass fucking crude dude, And he just takes punches flush, man. You can't do that shit, honestly.
Yeah,
he took so many clean shots to the face, and he's so tough for his own good that he doesn't even, like, go down. Like, he'll take 20 shots and just still stand there and, like, what else you got? And he was out of it. He was completely out of it.
Especially at 54 now as well. Like, before, smaller guys, okay, the gloves are slightly smaller, but the guys are going to usually pack less power. But now the dudes you're fighting are a bit bigger, and Hassan was in shape. And the best bit was after the fight, when he started shouting, I want Gelbrook! I want Gelbrook! That was hilarious.
Right. But just to that point, at 154, like, imagine Egg versus Brook, for example. Like, they look so different body-wise, strength-wise, power-wise. Like, Egg is, I know I'm comparing two different levels, but Egg does, I just feel like, I know he has trouble at 147 to make weight, but he just doesn't belong at 154, man. Like, he's going to get seriously hurt if he stays there.
And like you pointed out that day when we were texting each other on WhatsApp, that he's still young, man. It's like, I'm afraid that at 30 years old, he's going to barely be able to string a sentence together.
He already looks fucking shot, man. Like, he's taken so many fucking punches to the head. It's scary, man, honestly. I hope. And Hearn seems to...
Chemo, I think I got your answer.
Yeah, no.
You know what? I know this sounds terrible. I think he should finish.
It's applicable to so many things in life, Nas the philosopher. But yeah, it's... I think Hearn kind of gets this, and I hope he urges Sam to kind of hang it up if this continues, man. Like, because it's just brutal to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not fun. All right. And Naoto, are you on the line, sir?
Yes, I am.
What's Gucci, man?
What's good?
I don't know if you've been listening to us, so...
I haven't had a chance to, unfortunately. Just the last about 10, 15 minutes.
All right, so we've gone through the Golovkin-Alvarez fight along with the undercard. We've gone through Garcia-Porter. We've gone through Khan. And we also went through Ramirez Orosco. So you just take the floor and give your opinion on whatever you want.
Ramirez Orosco was a fantastic fight, underrated fight. That gave a lot for Canelo and Golovkin to live up to going into the weekend. That was a really good fight. I thought Orozco was giving him a more difficult fight than the commentary was acting like he was. But then again, Ramirez is a top-ranked fighter on a top-ranked card, so you can kind of expect that usually. But that was a really good fight, really good performance from Ramirez. And Ramirez actually might actually be the best 140-pounder right now. He might be. Really, really good. He continues to improve too. It was great to see on the Canelo undercard the comeback, the return of Chocolatito, the prodigal son.
Even though you were secretly picking Fuentes.
I put money on Fuentes. I'm honest about it.
Oh, wasn't that secret?
Yeah, because it was what do you call it? You know, he was such a big underdog, and he had made me money before just because of the fact that he was always a big underdog. He was a big underdog going into the Calderon fight back in the day. He was a big underdog going against Garcia, like 15-1. So I thought, like, hey, you know, it's another good chance for me to hit on him. But
Naoto, you're getting a bit robotic and slow motion.
But Choco, I think. Uh-oh. I don't know, man. I'm in kind of a bad area, so.
Okay.
So it's okay now again.
Okay. So
now it's bummy again.
Holding my phone up like. Really? Damn,
Yeah.
I'm like holding my phone like the Statue of Liberty right now.
Where you at, man? You in the hood or something?
Yeah, I got these big ass buildings right next to me.
You're in SoCal, man, holding it down.
Exactly. Know it. Always. How about now? Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, so I'll keep my arm steady then. Yeah, it was good to see Choco come back. Nasty knockout, man. That was a beautiful knockout. Just one punch, bang, right hand. And Fuentes' head hit the canvas, and you know, that's like a knockout of the year candidate, you know. And then another knockout of the year candidate was Lemieux over O'Sullivan. Before I get finished on Choco, though, man, I definitely think he should probably have one more tune-up bout, then go after a title. Supposedly, Ioka and Nietes might be fighting for the WBO since it's still vacant, since the judges robbed Nietes against Polite. So if he was to fight the winner of that would be an excellent fight, especially considering the fact that Nietes had previously avoided him at the lower weights at 105 and 108 when they were sharing the weight class. Or Yafai, you know, if Yafai wants to finally, you know, be a big boy and play with the big kids, you know, I'd like to see that fight also. And then Lemieux, man, that was a thing of beauty because Spike O'Sullivan is an annoying motherfucker. So it was great to see. It was great to see Lemieux spin his ass around and have him like looking like a World Star video. It's like, you know, you see these guys get like knocked out of their shoes and shit, and like, whoa, what happened? And that was like O'Sullivan probably fought Lemieux the exact incorrect way to fight Lemieux. Went in there trying to like hold ring center against the guy. Like you need to try and let him tire out those first couple of rounds before you really go after him like that. He's a complete moron for not doing that, and he paid for it. I do think that Lemieux probably would have got to him sooner or later, but that was ugly. What was even uglier though was just that big gap between the undercard and the main event.
Oh my God, man!
Trying to fill time. That was ridiculous.
That filler was annoying, man.
Yeah, they replayed the entire undercard like twice over in the amount of time that they had with that gap. And then Munguia, man, like you should have expected that Munguia and Choco's fights probably would have ended before they reached the full 12 rounds or the full 10 rounds in Choco's case. But I mean, you should have expected that. You know, Munguia went in there and he beat the shit out of that Brandon Cook guy. And Munguia is actually pretty scary because he looked like he was using the jab a lot better. He was shortening his shots up better. And if you actually watch that finishing volley in slow motion, he landed almost every punch that he threw. So he's pretty damn accurate. So I mean, the more he learns how to box, I think the better chance I'm giving him against like the true elite fighters at whatever weight class he happens to be at, whether it's 154 or 160 in the future. But he looks really, he's going to be a fun fighter, man. He's going to be a fun, interesting fighter to watch in the future. And then, like, as for the main event, Golovkin's definitely older. You know, he's definitely slowing down. But Canelo has definitely improved also. You know, I think his stamina has gotten a lot better as well. It seemed like he didn't really tire out this time until, like, the 8th or the 9th. And he was pressing the action more so in this fight than probably in any other since he's been fighting guys really more so his own size. You know, whereas he typically didn't really turn it up to that level. Since he's been fighting guys that he just didn't completely outsize altogether. So, like, you know, I gotta give him some props, some due props for that. I scored it a draw, so I mean, I can't necessarily see the people scoring or saying that it was a robbery and that, but I kind of understand where they're coming from when you consider the fact that it seems like Canelo, it's not win some lose some with Canelo, it's win some and then win some more. because like he's always getting the benefit of the doubt on the judges' scorecards, always, like all the way going back to Floyd Mayweather, where one of those judges gave him a draw, and that wasn't anything close to a draw. So I can see it from that perspective, but it seems like finally now he's starting to live up to some of the promise of all the hype that surrounded him long before he had ever really accomplished anything. So it'll be interesting to see what he does going forward. You know, I'd like to see him fight Charlo. I'd like to see him fight Jacobs. I want to see him fight, you know, the top fighters. I don't want to see him fight Lemieux or any of these like clear, you know, B- level fighters. You know, like Lemieux, yeah, he looked impressive against O'Sullivan, but I mean, if Lemieux's a B-, then O'Sullivan's a fucking D+, C-, you know, so he got blasted out of there just like he should. But I don't think Canelo would have very much trouble with Lemieux. I think his chin is pretty solid, and especially when you can see the punches coming, and with Lemieux you can see his punches coming a mile away. You know, unless you're like all the way on the inside trying to freaking trade with the guy like an idiot. And Canelo's smarter than that. You know, he's a better fighter than to just recklessly throw hands with somebody like that. Trying to think what else. Porter Garcia, like honestly, that fight wasn't as good as I expected it to be. It was. I mean, honestly, I thought it was a bit boring, simply because of the fact that they were both swinging so wide. Like it reminded me of, remember back when Garcia fought Morales the first time, and Morales was making fun of the fact that he was like swinging those two wide hooks.
Yeah.
I mean, like he did the shit, like imitating them.
Yeah.
That's what that entire fight was. It was just the two of them swinging wide ass hooks, missing like 70% of them. And like it seemed like neither Porter nor Garcia could really make much of an impression on each other. And I don't know, it was a forgettable fight and a pretty forgettable night, honestly. Like I didn't care for that fight. I didn't care for Ugas. I really don't care for Ugas altogether. I mean, honestly, he's just somebody that they're trying to build up to act like Spence beat some like great fighter when Spence knocks him out in 2 rounds, which he probably will, because Ugas is nowhere near that level. And but the Martin Kovnatsky fight though, that was very good. That started off really sloppy, but it ended pretty brilliantly. Like it was a sloppy fight even like towards the end rounds too, but like that was some great action. It was good 2-way action. One guy was hurt, then the other guy was hurt. It was a really good fight.
Yeah,
and you gotta give props to Martin for like damn near getting Kovnatsky out of there too.
Yeah, he came back well, you know, like, especially those kind of hooks and uppercuts to the body towards the end of the fight, man. They were really kind of affecting Kovnatsky.
That paid big dividends. Big dividends for him. The Superfly card. Did you guys talk about that?
No.
Go for it, Matt.
Well, like I mentioned before. Oh shit!
What happened, man?
Oh, never mind. I thought I got cut off.
What a fucking outburst.
I know, it's like, shit, oh, I'm still on the line? Oh, okay.
I thought you hit your car or something.
No, I'm good. Okay. What do you call it? Nietes versus Palikte. Like I said, you know, it was a robbery. Not to say that Palikte wasn't completely out of the fight, but Nietes definitely outboxed him. Like, if you want to, like, if you're a young fighter on the come up, or you know a young fighter, that's the fight you want to show him, to show you how you outbox a taller, longer opponent. Because, you know, Nietes had, 4.5 inches of height and probably about the same in reach advantage over Palikte had that over Nietes. But Nietes just put on a beautiful boxing display and pretty cleanly outboxed the guy. You know, Palikte was giving him some trouble early on, but I thought Nietes kind of pulled away in the latter half, just with his superior skill, superior technique, superior experience. You know, Palikte is a relative novice compared to the amount of experience Nietes has. You know, he should be a 4-weight champion now, but unfortunately he's not for the judges. Kazuto Ioka, honestly, I thought stole the show in terms of his performance. Pretty well, cleanly outboxed McWilliams Arroyo, and that's pretty impressive coming off of Arroyo having beat Cuadras too. Ioka looked like refreshed, man. He looked better than he has in the last couple of years. You know, there's a lot of that rumor. You know, I had mentioned it before on our podcast and stuff like that about how Ioka was having issues with his dad and his uncle, and like, you know, they pretty much were managing and training him, like managing his whole career and everything. And there was like beef between his girlfriend / now I'm pretty sure he's married to her now, his pop star wife and all that, and his dad. And so it was like, I think there was probably a lot of out of the ring distractions that might have been affecting his performances before, when he was the WBA flyweight champ.
Yeah,
but
I know you thought, fuck this shit, I'll just retire.
I'm sorry?
You probably thought, fuck all this nonsense, I'll just retire.
Yeah, but so like they said in the HBO telecast, they were saying that he was at Superfly 2 and he got inspired because he felt like, man, I could beat these guys. And I mean, hey, he went in there and he did it. He beat one of them. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Ioka goes from here. And I think Ioka too. I think a big part of him returning also is like he sees the clout now that Inoue's getting. He sees the clout that Tanaka's getting. And he wants some of that too. Like he's the guy that was holding it down in Japan. Like he was the ratings draw. He was the #1 ratings draw for the last several years in Japan. And now all of a sudden there's people like kind of forgetting about him and being like, oh no, Inoue's the shit now. And then like Tanaka saying like, oh, I want to be better than Inoue. Like, wait a minute, like what about me? Like, why aren't you mentioning my name? So I think Ioka like felt some type of way about it, came back and he put on a fantastic performance. He looked really good. Yeah. I wouldn't have picked him against Nietes before. I'm not necessarily saying that I would, but I think that's like a 50-50 fight if the two of them actually do fight for the WBO title as is kind of suspected at the moment.
Yeah, that was definitely the best fight on the card, and he came out, as you say, he was refreshed. The jab was on point, the body work was excellent. The muscle memory always rolled under the Arroyo's left hook, and he was always getting off first as well. Arroyo looked like he struggled to kind of get in his flow because like he was always having to defend something. And like the third round was a classic example. Like Arroyo actually came out aggressive and he started trying to get off first, and then he got dropped with that beautiful 1-2. And just a pretty fun fight. Like both guys kind of standing in the pocket and trading. And it's a shame we kind of got.
Yoka's beautiful for that.
Yeah, he's very left-handed as well for an orthodox fighter. Like a lot of his punches, like he'll hook off the jab and he'll throw like 2 left hooks to the body, and he was
for a while there. A lot of people were like kind of nicknaming him like the body snatcher because he had so many like body shot knockouts at strawweight back when he first started. And he's a fantastic inside fighter. His inside abilities are pretty difficult to match. I'd only probably put like Choco or like maybe somebody that's really overtly physical like Srisaket above him in that regard.
It's just a shame that the fight got cut back from 12 to 10. Like even like Lampe was a bit amazed. Like he was like, "Yo, what's going on here?" Like the refs told him, to touch gloves and it's the final round, but then they got told it had been reduced, or initially it was a 10-rounder. But it's probably a good reason for Arroyo though, Naoto, because just late in that 10th, he got that really bad cut on his cheek. He was just taking
a beating by that point. Yeah,
he got that bad cut on his cheek. He wasn't in the fight. But
he got cut back a little bit, innit?
Yeah, and then Estrada Orokuta, and it's kind of funny though, because like a lot of people are giving Estrada flat for having some difficulty with Orokuta, but like I had mentioned it on Twitter and stuff, I knew that Orokuta would be a difficult style matchup for him because Orokuta has a very good jab and he's very good, like maneuverable. He's almost like a Miguel Vasquez, where it's hard to look good against him. And he really got robbed back when he fought Narvaez a couple years ago. And he's not like an elite fighter outright, but he's one of those guys that can make you look really bad because he has good survival instincts, a very good jab. He's very kind of herky-jerky. It's hard to time him. He doesn't really have a tell necessarily. And Estrada was doing good work early against him. It's just that I think he kind of got disrupted a little bit by that kind of jerky movement and the jab. And Orokuta was able to connect cleanly on him. And also, who knows, maybe Estrada overall was looking past him a little bit too. I think that might have something.
I think he was, because he was getting clipped a bit too much for me. But he won the fight 8-4. But he kind of won it the hard way, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, and it's unfortunate too because of like how they were talking about, and I really didn't like that too. Is like in the commentary they were basically trying to justify the reasoning for why like Estrada isn't getting paid as much as like Choco and Srisaket were and stuff like that. Like, oh, he's not as exciting and this and that. Like, well, I mean, he's plenty exciting with the right matchups for one. And then also, like, if you're talking about like versus other fighters just in general in the sport of boxing, honestly, I think he's probably one of the, if not the most underpaid fighter in the sport. But I mean, for what it's worth, like to a certain degree, you can somewhat understand it because he doesn't necessarily bring the same, drama and excitement as like Choco and Srisaket. Because Srisaket, that somebody like might get their head knocked off or he might puke all over the ring or something. And with Choco, it's just like strings of combinations, 7, 8, 9, 10 punch, like Marvel versus Capcom combos in there. With Estrada, it's a lot more like it takes I don't know, like a more sophisticated palate to be able to appreciate what he's doing in there because it's more of like a technical kind of technical type of a fight in there that he's doing. Little like subtle things, rolling with shots and then countering above and below him, but he's not necessarily going out there like really trying to take your head off. He's just going out there to get the W.
Overall, Naoto, though, I thought Superfly 3 was a bit of a flop, man. I think Ioka Arroyo saved it. Personally, I had Nietes just winning 7-5. I didn't have it a robbery. I think he got outworked at times by Palikte, but it was a bit of a boring fight. And then the Quadras fight wasn't great either, man. And I think apart from Ioka Arroyo, this also saved it for me, man. This was a highlight.
No, I agree.
Perfect lead left hook by Donnie Nietes, and he steps away to a place where Palikte can't find him even with his long arms.
Actually, a good shot from both men. Palikte's landed harder.
Okay,
Dre. I see you. You're trying to clown me, Dre. Okay.
Funny.
Dre had to put Lampley in his place, man.
Yeah. Forgot about him. Forgot about Dre, man.
Any other fights, Naoto? Are we done?
Off top, I mean, like, I guess I could just mention this weekend, Sunday at midnight Pacific time. Going into Monday, it'll be Monday night in Japan. Kosei Tanaka versus Sho Kimura. Excellent fight. Tanaka's the guy I was talking about, saying that he was trying to outdo Inoue, like pound for pound now. If he beats Kimura this weekend, or I guess this coming Monday, he'll be a 3-weight champion in 12 fights, and that would technically break the quote-unquote record that Lomachenko has in that regard, considering Lomachenko had the World Series of Boxing fights, which were professional fights, whereas Tanaka has no such fights. And Kimura is like a mini Glenn Johnson, man. He's just of overt, like, aggressive. Went out there, was able to outwork and stop Zhou Shiming, and did the same to former WBC champion Garashi. So, I don't think he's going to go quietly, but I do think that Tanaka is probably one of the most fun fighters to watch in the sport, and I think that the style matchup there is a potential Fight of the Year candidate. I think that it shouldn't be missed, and it's actually going to be provided on Asian Boxing info for free. It's going to be on live HD stream.
Free boxing.
Live right on there. Yep, free. It's free, baby.
Free! Oh, shit. All right. Kimo, any news you guys want to talk about?
David Benavidez testing positive for cocaine.
Cocaina. I don't know. He's a young dude. If that's what he wants to do, fair enough. But if you know that you're doing voluntary dope testing, like, what the fuck?
That's pretty dumb.
I don't get why we test for that shit. Let the man do a few lines. What's the problem? If he doesn't do it before the fight, I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a PED, you know what I mean? Like, why the fuck do we care if he does a little cocaine?
But at the same time, though, too, it might be like a thing where it's like the WBC like doesn't want like their champion, like somebody that they like legitimize to be, coming out like that. It's almost like if some bad news comes out in the NBA or the NFL or something about some player that is endorsed, quote unquote, by the organization, then they're going to come down on them for whatever mishap that they might have had.
Yeah, but it's none of their fucking business. You know what I mean? Like, if he does a line,
it shouldn't be. I think it shouldn't be. Definitely. But like it's funny though. I'm curious to see like what they wind up doing if he gets the slap on the wrist or what the situation is. 'Cause I haven't heard nothing since the initial positive test.
I think he's just gonna get a fine.
Yeah,
Coke,
that's pretty good.
The thing about coke is whenever I've seen a guy test positive for cocaine, like, it never leads to like harsh punishment in terms of suspensions, but they always just slander his name in public. Like, I just don't see the point of it. Like, it doesn't get treated as rigorously as like a steroid or anything like that. So why the fuck are you doing it in the first place? It's really weird.
Yeah. It's good. That's good though. Like, he's not winding up like Johnny Tapia, who got suspended for like 2 years for cocaine. So, I think things got a lot more lenient nowadays compared to the 90s, though, too. So
yeah, but Tapia was some other shit.
It's unfortunate. I mean, like, hopefully it is just a fine though, and then he can stay active and everything. Because that would have pissed me off if it gets in the way of like actual good fights happening. Because there's good fights to be made between him, Uzcategui, Ramirez, and so on and so forth. Who knows? Maybe Golovkin will move up to 168 and start getting tore up there.
He'll get fucking smashed at this age, I think. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think Golovkin, I didn't even really talk much about like what the aftermath for him is going to be. But at this point, I think it's going to be a pretty nasty kind of downhill slope, down sloping ride for him, because his isn't really a style that I think is going to age particularly gracefully.
No, I agree.
No.
It's going to happen, man. Happens to the best of him.
Yeah.
Anything else, boys?
But, Cam, do you want to talk about the fight that was suddenly rumored out to be happening again? With a very peculiar timing again, like right when there's a big fight. Two attention whores need to come out again and announce something. Like, I just don't understand it.
I'm just tired of these dudes, man. Like, they just want
to fuck off
boxing
real bad.
Yeah,
honestly.
Exactly. It's like, you got your money, like, just go enjoy it, man. Like, it's like if they don't have their names in the headlines for like 2 weeks, they have to make a stunt or do something or say something to be written in an article again. It just gets a bit boring after a while.
Yeah, and one guy is the attention whore. Like, Floyd is an obvious, like, he's got so many complexes. He just needs to have his name in the news. Like, he cannot deal with not being fucking, a talking point for most people.
Yeah.
But the other guy is probably just in serious financial jeopardy and just wants to make fucking money again.
But I blame him as well. Like, how can you make so much money in your career and then, like, be fucking broke? That's on you, man.
Yeah, I fully agree, Cam, but it's just...
time.
I don't condone either versions of this, like, I have no desire to see this fight whatsoever, like, zero. So they can just fuck off. And I hope to God, if it does happen, like, people come to their senses and don't buy this shit. But given how many pay-per-views Floyd has sold in his life, unfortunately, I do think a lot of people are stupid enough to buy this shit again. But yeah. Because they'll win. They don't need to sell like fucking 4 million pay-per-views again. Even if they sell 1 million, they'll fucking make a lot of money.
Floyd has to come back though, man. I mean, shit. Wenheng the God has surpassed him, so.
He ain't the first fucking guy to surpass him. What do people always talk about? Some random guy. How was that news, by the way? I don't understand.
He's the Leviathan. He's the Leviathan. Chemo.
Fuck me. Like, the media is stupid sometimes,
Leviathan,
man. It's sickening. It's really, really fucking sick. Like, so many people, and it's not even that they're giving the guy the credit, because the topic of the conversation is Mayweather's record, as if it's anything special. The fact that
they're just using Mayweather's name to write an article again.
God damn it, man! It's pathetic. Even credible sites were talking about this. Go fuck yourself, seriously.
Hey man, y'all better put some respect on Wenheng's name. 51 have tried and 51 have failed.
All right.
Well, I respect him more than these trash fucking wannabe journalists writing about this as if it's fucking news. You're fake news. That's what you are.
Any other news?
Supposedly he might even be fighting outside of Thailand for his next fight. He might be fighting in Japan for like 6 figures or something. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point if Floyd does fight again, that he has that dude on his undercard, like for real, like on some who's the real TBE type shit. That's what I think. He's just petty enough to do that.
Yeah.
See if he could get him beat.
That'll be the tagline. Yeah. Who's the real TBE?
And I don't blame him. I don't even necessarily blame him. For feeling that way. Fuck it, just go out and do it. I wouldn't mind seeing it simply by virtue of Wenheng getting paid more than he probably would have ever gotten otherwise. So.
Yeah. All right. Any other news?
I think that's about it, man.
Let's get into previews then, Chemo. On the eve of another big Anthony Joshua fight. Firstly, though, like, are these constant stadium fights kind of getting a bit like boring now? Because this fight doesn't seem to have like the same amount of hype as some of the others, or is it just the fact that people are not too bothered about Povetkin, or the casual fans aren't anyway?
I think we might be underestimating the casual a little bit in the UK, but you can tell me better, Cam, if there's hype around this or not.
You guys, are you ready to see 2 Olympic gold medalists?
WK. Oh, God.
Personally,
I kind of miss
like,
Vlad somehow.
I don't think it is as getting as much tension as previous fights, and also it didn't sell out within like 2 seconds like other fights have, and it's like anything.
Chemo,
if you
$3,000 for
Chemo, if you eat steak every day, then what do you eat when you want to have a treat? Like, you know what I mean? I think that's the problem now. Like, these big stadium fights are not like every 5 year, every 10 year like colossal event. They're becoming just the norm, so they're not getting as much attention. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, but it's also at the same time, Cam, it's a testament to AJ's popularity that he's able to do this for every fight now, right? So it used to be very rare that we get something like Froch Groves, which created magic, and then it fills up a stadium. But now he's just so big that he can do it every time against any fucking opponent. But I do agree with you, like that special feeling that we've had for UK stadium fights is getting a little bit diluted. But, man, believe it or not, like I actually believe as well that this whole Wilder, like Fury debacle has backfired a little bit for Matchroom and AJ as well. There doesn't seem to be a lot of attention on this fight, at least for me personally as well, for that very reason. Like it just seems a little bit anticlimactic, just to see him fight Povetkin.
It's funny you say that though, because like even this week, if you read Boxing Scene, it'll be a quote like Eddie Hearn tells Wilder he hasn't much time to make his decision. It's like, you're fighting Povetkin. Why are we still talking about Wilder?
Well, because this fight has been thrown in the media so much that we as boxing fans are only thinking about that. That is the problem when you hype something up to that extent, go back and forth, contract negotiations, blah, 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 like Shelley Finkel, like all this fucking bullshit that's constantly going around. It's created a mental state for everybody where we're just like, okay, I just want to see this fight, get it over with. And then it's like, oh, yeah, but we have Povetkin, who's at mandatory. And at the same time, you have Wilder supposedly fighting Fury. It just creates a weird situation where we don't really have a lot of interest in this.
Yeah, when it doesn't help, too, that like when you get Fury returning and then you get Wilder and Fury together, kind of each talking shit about Joshua, and then also, maybe circling each other, potentially fighting or whatever. And the thing about Wilder and Fury is they're very vibrant characters in boxing. They're not just, really good fighters. They're characters. They're guys that they have like very distinct personalities. Joshua doesn't really have that. It's like he's like the cardboard cutout for Under Armour. And that's pretty much Joshua's personality. It's like he's the respectful and respected fighter, like super athlete, whatever, but he doesn't have that personality where it's like, it's like you're like waiting to hear what he says next, the crazy shit that he says next, or the funny shit that he says next, or whatever it happens to be, like you kind of do with Fury and Wilder. I think Fury a little bit more so than Wilder, but at the same time, Wilder still, he does entertain in his fights also. Not to say that Joshua doesn't. He usually does, or he typically has in the past, but lately he hasn't necessarily. And so I think that harms it a little bit as well, along with the fact that Povetkin is like, as much as like I had said on Twitter or whatever that like Canelo was a failure going into the fight with Golovkin, fucking Povetkin's even more of a failure. The guy was like supposed to be like this great like Olympic fighter, and he's going to turn pro and take over the heavyweight division. He became the mandatory and then ducked the champion, which I had never seen before, like a mandatory ducking their mandated shot for 3.5 years. And then he fucking lays an egg against Klitschko when he finally actually fights him. And then, Joshua goes in there and actually shows you how it's done, how to take out an old man. And so I think a lot of people, they figure like, well, Povetkin really should, by virtue of level of class, be easy work for Joshua. Whether he is or not is another story. But Joshua at his best should wash Povetkin easily. It shouldn't be any kind of real drama in the fight other than like exactly how Povetkin goes down.
So you foresee a stoppage, yeah?
I think so. I mean, I thought Price was on his way to stopping Povetkin. So I think Joshua can do it.
What do you think, Kim?
Well, just quickly off of what Naoto just said, the personality of AJ doesn't help because there's all this bullshit going around, and then you click on an IFL video of AJ talking about how he's not ducking, and within 2 seconds, like I'm already bored out of my fucking skull, and I just cannot deal with it.
He's that just, eat your Wheaties and say your prayers type dude.
It's just so dry, and it's just like, mate,
drink your
you like even if you are right in this video, I don't have the patience to sit through this fucking dry ass garbage to know about it. Like you're doing yourself no favors.
They're definitely losing the PR war.
Oh hell yeah,
they're getting smashed. They're getting fucking David Lemieux in the PR war.
Yeah, and he still has that appeal with the casuals because the casuals, so many casuals in the UK just love the fact that he's a great, good-looking dude and he does well with just the average audience. But for me as a boxing fan, like I just can't deal with this shit anymore. Like it's just so fucking boring. And even though I really, really don't like Fury anymore, and somehow I do like that Warren has just become a total troll, but I don't know. Like I don't even, and I'm not trying to sound like a matchroom whore because I just shat on AJ, but I honestly don't even really believe that this fight is happening. I mean, look at Warren's track record in making fights, and Fury's for that matter. So I'm not too convinced yet that it's actually going to happen. And when I watch, for example, the Frank Ward interview about, oh, the fight is on. Don't fucking worry about it. The fight is fucking on. Well, why is there no venue? It doesn't fucking matter. Like, no, mate.
Ultimately,
it does matter,
actually. They're using each other, like, to try and get Joshua, basically. They're using each other to make it so that if either of them wind up negotiating with Joshua after the Povetkin fight, it makes it easier for them to demand whatever it is that they're going to demand. Because it could be say, like, well, fuck it. If you don't give me this, I'll just go across the street and fight this guy instead.
Yeah, exactly. But the point I was making as well is you saying about the PR war. Like, even though I'm hearing a lot of bullshit from the Warren and the Fury camp, like, just in general, the way it looks, like, there's more excitement being generated on that front. Even though with a lot of things they say, they're completely full of shit. But let's see what happens, man. Anyway, just to answer your question, Cam, about the fight, I don't really rate Povetkin that high, and I think he struggles against guys that are quite much bigger than him that can put a lengthy jab on him. And Naoto was right. Like, Price was having a lot of success, and he hurt Povetkin. But
I was going to interrupt you, but just with Price, I think Povetkin just didn't really respect him, and like he was just kind of walking him down, just doing what he wanted, and he got clipped. Yeah, that's my view on that. But I don't know. I'm unsure. I'm not really hyped about the fight for some reason. I think Povetkin being 39 now, but I actually could see him like giving AJ some problems. I don't think Povetkin will be stopped, man. He's got a good chin, and I think it'll go on the cards, but kind of a 8-4 kind of fight. But sorry to interrupt.
That's okay, Cam. But I think. I don't know, man. I just can't see Povetkin hanging in there with a guy that size. I think if AJ is a little bit aggressive, I think he can take him out. He's so much bigger than Povetkin, man. Povetkin has always been a small heavyweight for me, especially with these giants, and I just don't think he's going to hang. And if you look at the Klitschko fight, for example, with Povetkin, like he was getting tagged, but Klitschko was fighting a very conservative fight. AJ ain't going to do that. At least I hope not. So maybe we see something, that AJ actually respects Povetkin and his quote unquote skill or whatever he has, and we get something like the Takam fight where it just becomes a kind of lengthy, boring fight with AJ just keeping the distance and winning it. But I think if he gets aggressive, he can take him out, man. He can just out-muscle him and outpower him. So that's what I'm hoping for.
We'll see, man. The thing about I don't think Povetkin did as bad against Vlad that Naoto says, like, you know, Vlad was the classic kind of use his weight, push you down, kind of tie you out with his size, but AJ doesn't really do that. And I think if Povetkin can get on the inside, like, Josh has not really got the best defense when he's up and close. Like, Dillian White was landing body shots and hooks on him, so I don't know. I could see it going several different ways. I'll pick AJ by points, but it's one of those fights that, you know, it's difficult to preview for me personally. You still there, Kimo?
Sorry, I was on mute. I was actually saying while I was on mute, this whole card is dog shit, isn't it? Like, Jesus Christ.
I don't know, like, I don't think like, it is for obviously a pay-per-view, but I think Luke Campbell Mendy rematch is not too bad. Obviously, I've always waited for that rematch. You know, it's kind of like been long in the tooth, but I was wanting to see if like Luke could kind of change a few things and beat Mendy. Mikey Askins, like, I think that's an underrated fight, Kimo. Like, Askins is a good fighter. I think he's definitely going to test a Coley.
Yeah, you sound like Adam Smith right now.
I am, yeah. And Kuzmin, like, I've never really watched him before. I looked him up yesterday, and I saw an amateur fight of him against Joy Joyce, and he like put him Joyce down twice, and the ref waved it off. He's definitely got decent power, so I think we'll see the bottom of David Price's shoes again.
Oh, Pricey, man, he keeps getting back in the ring. It's crazy. But yeah, I am excited to see the source again, mate. So shout out to Coley.
Definitely. Moving on, not going to spend too much time on this. Friday the 28th, we got Ancajas versus Alejandro Santiago Barrios and Jose Uzcategui in a 10-rounder. He's not having his belt on the line that he's took from James DeGale after DeGale ducked him against Ezequiel Osvaldo Madeira. That's a top-ranked card on ESPN Plus in Oakland. What else we got? Same day, but in your neck of the woods, Kimo, Jeddah. I want to ask you, actually. I was going to text you yesterday, but I never got round to it. Like, with this whole ticket debacle regarding Groves versus Smith, do you think they're just going to give tickets to the people that attend the football games at that stadium? Because what other way are they going to have people at this show? The only other thing we could find out is when they actually cut to the fucking venue, it's like some business center inside the stadium, you know, like sometimes where they have like white collar and blue collar fights, and it's just some little ring here with like 5 people in the crowd, man. Like, what's going on, man?
I really, really don't get it. But the thing is, because it's over there, not a lot of people are talking about it. But I fucking tweeted. I've tried to find out. I've signed up for the ticket alerts. I didn't get shit, man. And the problem is, like, I mean, I need to plan this shit, right? Like, I have to book flights, you know, for my work going back and forth between Abu Dhabi and Saudi. And, you know, I'm like, I can fly to Jeddah in the weekend on the cost of the company. That's pretty fucking dope. But I have to book it. Otherwise, the fucking prices are going to spike up like crazy. And they're going to tell me to go fuck myself. So it's 1 week to go, basically, right? A bit more. And, like, what am I going to do? Like, it's just stupid. I don't get it. I don't get this whole fucking concept. This fight shouldn't be there. You know? Like, it's just retarded. I was so happy with the Sauerlands and what they were doing, but somebody needs to explain this. Like, I really, really don't get it. So I'm probably going to end up not going, obviously, because I'm not just going to be able to book a flight, like, 2 days before the fight.
You don't want a weekend in Jeddah for no reason.
No, but it's stupid, man. Like, I really don't get it. It's just, you know, I mean, it was an opportunity to go, but no information, nothing. So what are they going to do with this? Like, did they get that much guaranteed money that they don't give a fuck about how many people are in the crowd or what? Like, it just makes no sense to me.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But regarding the fight, what do you think about your boy George?
Oh, man. By the way, I still need to watch that little special that you sent me about, the little 24/7 piece they did. But from what I saw, like, it looked pretty cool. Oh, God. I gotta take Groves, man. Like, I have more faith in Groves than I have in fucking Callum Smith. Callum Smith hasn't looked good since he beat the shit out of Rocky from Stocky.
And that was a long time ago.
And that was a long-ass time ago. It was that long ago that Rocky actually became a world champion. So what the fuck does that mean? You know, like, I just don't rate Callum Smith. I think he's kind of static. I don't think he's that good. You know, he can box a little bit. He can kind of come forward a little bit, but he does nothing really special in my case. And in my point of view, sorry. And I think George is now just such a seasoned pro. You know, take away any variables maybe around his shoulder or whatever. Like, I just think he can outbox Callum for 7 rounds and he'll win the fight. You know, like, he can do that. I don't see him getting pressed up against the ropes and being battered around by Callum Smith. I just don't see that happening, man. So George is going to pace himself. He's going to stick that long lever jab on him, and I think he's just going to get a decision, man. That's what I think.
Do you think he'll have any issues with the shoulder, or is it just one of those things that we'll never know until the night?
God knows, Cam. God knows. I really don't know. I do know that the shoulder is a very, very complicated joint, and it doesn't, you know, it takes a while to heal, but I have no idea of what kind of rehab he's been doing, how he's been feeling, how he's been training. We don't know. I mean, we honestly do not know. So I cannot base my pick on that. So we'll. I'm just reading, by the way, that Shams is telling me that Eubank is on the card.
Yeah, he got added to the card earlier this week. He's fighting JJ McDonough, Irish southpaw, but I think it's just a fight for Eubank to look good, basically.
Who the fuck is that?
Exactly.
I've never heard of that guy.
Not many have.
Okay. But who you got, Cam?
Yeah, I got a Groves, like, to all your points, really. Like, Smith is kind of static, and I think Georgia should be able to pick him off with the right hand counter punches, and yeah, I think it should be kind of easy for Groves. I think he's got a lot more experience. I think Smith's gone backwards, really, man. He got to a point where he was on the verge of, like, decent things, fighting good opponents, possibly, world title. I think he was mandatory for like 7 years or something. But it's crazy, man, how, like,
final eliminator.
It's crazy, like, how his career, as you say, like Rocky Fielding, he iced him out in November 15, and what has Smith really done since then? Nothing, man. Like, a lot of his ticking over fights, like, he didn't even look good. Because it's difficult when you've not really got a focus, when you've been mandatory for so long, just fighting some dude with 7 losses. He's not going to inspire you to fucking be your best. So, yeah, I've got Groves, even though I'm not the biggest Groves fan, but easy work, I think.
Judge. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he actually stops Callum Smith, given the way this Gallagher fucking camp has been going lately. I really would not be surprised.
I think Khan's going to kick him out of the gym soon. What do you think?
Nay, it's absolutely abysmal there at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if George lands a nice big right hand and just fucking takes him out.
Yeah. All right.
That would be epic, by the way.
It would be.
What do you, Captain? Do you still think the fight actually takes place? Because you were talking about it being cancelled and shit.
That was just me kind of guessing. I didn't hear anything, but I was just so surprised. Like, okay, if Saudi or some investment group have offered Sauerland, a big financial reward to bring the fight over there, I understand, but wouldn't you want to try and, like, make an event and say, it's the biggest fight that's ever graced Saudi Arabia, blah blah blah, and, like, Khalil will probably tweet out some stupid bullshit about, like, a ring car girl, but then they won't, like, reply to someone when they're inquiring about tickets that actually want to go, actual boxing fans that are interested in the good fight. Like, the fact that both guys are British and this fight's not happening in the UK is a travesty to me, because that's just stupid. Like, no matter, even if you are getting a big financial incentive from Saudi, man, like, you place the fight, geographically to where it's best. Like, crazy business, Merc. Crazy.
By the way, last week I actually met up with a dude that His name is Mitesh. Like I've known him for quite a while actually. Like he was a follower of us during the Boxing Voice days and all that. Like he's known us for a long time. And he lives here in Abu Dhabi, and he also tried to get tickets. So I'm not the only one who's been trying. And I was like, like he missed a couple of, tweets or somebody missed sending a newsletter or whatever. Like I've heard of more people that have been trying to get tickets, and nobody fucking knows what's happening.
Since you were interested in going, like I've been like looking at threads, when Calais posts something. If you look at it, like the replies, people actually ask him. I've seen multiple different people saying, "Oh,
really?
I'm working in Saudi at the moment. I'd like to go. What's the ticket situation?" And they don't get replied. But if they said, "Oh, posted the picture of him like with a mountain of cocaine," Khaled'd probably reply.
Wow,
crazy.
I actually didn't know that. That's crazy.
But it's
shocking.
It's annoying. Obviously, it's too far for me to go. But like for people that are a good proper boxing fan who's followed Groves for a long time, and you got the opportunity to maybe go to the fight and you can't even go, that's fucking. It's a joke, man.
It is an absolute joke. It would have been a great opportunity, but yeah, unfortunately, not meant to be.
No. The day after in Fantasy Springs, Indio, California, Jorge Linares is back against Abner Cotto. I don't know why he's fighting Abner Cotto at 140, but no one's going to really care. The day after that, on a Sunday, Victor Ortiz versus John Molina Jr. That's like, what do you think? Battle of the brain damaged. Actually, should be a fun fight.
One is brain damaged. One is probably not as brain damaged, but just mentally fucking out of it. Could be a fun fight. I gotta pick Ortiz though, man. Who you got?
Why are you picking Ortiz?
Mate, come on. Justify yourself.
I don't know, like Ortiz has looked shit for me, since he's kind of slowly started to come back. Maybe against Berto, he quit in that fight. He had a quick win after that. The Alexander fight, which is a draw, I thought he lost to Devin. Now he's fighting Molina. Molina, he's one of those guys, man. Like he's always in a fun fight, but he's flawed and he's just a brawler, and he'll stand there and trade. But I don't know, like to me, Ortiz, like if he becomes in a firefight and he takes a barrage of punches, he just want to quit, man. Like he hasn't got the mentality to box anymore for me. Like as soon as the road gets a bit rough, Ortiz is out there.
No, I agree, but I still think he's light years ahead of talent and then fucking Molina, man. And Molina is so at the downside of his career. Like I don't know what he's got left, man. Honestly, I mean. It's a pretty shitty fight now that I think about it.
I think it's still okay. I think it's going to be fun, whatever happens.
It's a circus, yeah. It's a circus fight. I'll watch, for sure. I'm going to hit that for sure.
Undercard-wise, Joy Joyce is making his US debut against Largo Kidlazre. You think he's some Georgian heavyweight, number one in Georgia. Who else is on there? James DeGale, Chemo. He gave up the belt, so he didn't have to fight Uzkatagi. And now he's on the 8-rounder on a Sunday against TBA in Fresno, in Ontario, California. So
wow,
how the mighty have fallen.
Zero fucks given, Cam.
It's
I
crazy,
never liked the Gale, and I have no interest in watching him anymore.
It's crazy, isn't it? How you can be fighting on a 12-rounder on a Sunday in like 2 weeks' notice. Crazy.
He's done, man. Good fucking riddance.
He is. Saturday, 6 October, Jack Cattrall versus... Let me get the soundbite.
Davies.
I don't know if you see much of Cattrall, Chemo, but if you haven't got an opinion, I'll just give mine and we can move on.
I haven't really, but I will definitely do my research because I still enjoy watching Davies, especially against a little bit more of the average European level opposition because it just makes for a good fight. Like the last one where you fucking slept that dude was nice. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, Jack, I kind of know Jack. He trained at my gym a few times, but I've had a kind of up and down kind of like view on him because he's changed trainers a lot of times, and I always find that a bit weird early in your career. And he initially kind of would do good in fights and then go into kind of sparring mentality halfway through and switch off, and then the fight would get a bit boring. And then since he's gone with Jamie, like Jamie Moore, sorry, his last fight, he was very aggressive. He would throw lots of punches when he's in the pocket. So he's definitely improved over Jamie Moore. But only problem is, like, when he gets into the pocket, he doesn't really do anything technically. He'll kind of walk into the pocket because his opponent's letting him. Where I think O'Hara will keep him at the end of the jab and kind of counter with the right hand and the uppercut. So it's going to be a difficult fight for Jack, but I think it'll be one of those kind of British classic, Warren cards Warren fights, and I think it'll be good. I'm favouring Davis, but you never know. We'll see.
Shout out to Davis, man.
Awara. Sunday, 7th of October, Boxing Super Series Season 2 starts with Naoto Inoue versus Juan Carlos Baniano and Kiro Relic versus Edward Troymanovsky for the 140 fight. So it's good that they're kind of doubling up these cards. Otherwise, we'll just have too many World Boxing Super Series cards and they'll just be clashing with everyone left, right, and centre. But there's a decent undercard fight. Ken Shiro undefeated fighting Melendo. But any opinion, Kimo? I haven't really got much to say to me. I think Relic will walk Troymanovsky down and probably stop him late. In a way, I think he should stop Paniano. I've seen him a few times. He's pretty decent, to be honest, quite skillful. But he's kind of getting up there with the age. So, I don't know.
I'm just hyped to see Inoue, man, since my Japan trip, because everybody was fucking talking about him there. Oh, monster Inoue! Like, everybody fucking knows him over there, man. He's a beast. And I've been wanting to see him back for a long time, so I'm just hyped. Every time Inoue is fighting, I will watch. So, that's all I gotta say.
So that's Sunday the 7th of October. So that's I think in the UK you'd be able to catch a stream, or I don't know who the World Boxing Super Series are working with this year again. I assume it's going to be ITV again, so maybe around midday on the Sunday we'll get this fight over here. If not, you're going to have to try and catch a stream.
I hope it's Dave, mate.
What a name for a channel. The day before, Saturday the 6th, Kimo, is the first outing of DAZN.
Why are you auto-tuning it, man? DAZN.
Did you see that little clip where they were speaking to all the boxers signed to DAZN and they were asking, like, how do you pronounce it? And everyone... It was so corny, man. It's like they got asked to pronounce it wrong so they can ask them to pronounce it correctly and make a little video about it. It was terrible.
I'm just so thankful to be on the zone, Cameron. just so thankful for Metro and the zone.
But regarding the card itself, I'm not bothered about Vargas Delorme. If you are, Kimo, go ahead.
No, 0.
The only fight I'm really bothered about is Beterbiev versus Callum Johnson. What do you think about that fight?
I think Callum is going to get knocked out.
It'd be interesting, though. I know Beterbiev fought early in his career and he got kind of a flash knockdown against that American dude whose name I'm checking now. I think it was Jeff Page Jr. Since then, though, he's just a tank, innit? He comes forward, just throws big, heavy-handed shots, and I'm interested to see if Callum can take in him. I don't think he will. Like, the guy's just a battering ram, but you never know if Callum kind of carries a bit of power himself. So maybe if he can catch Beterbiev clean, it might make it interesting. But we'll have to see.
Could be, Cam, but I think the bigger story here is, like, when are we going to see Beterbiev in a big fight? Like, if there's one guy whose career is just kind of washing away, it's him, man. Seriously.
Who would you like
to see him in a big fight?
Who would you like to see him against?
I've always wanted to see the fucking Kovalev fight.
Do you think that's too late now, seeing as though what happened with Kovalev?
I don't think it's too late. I still watch it 100%. I don't think Beterbiev is in that great of a momentum anyway. Like, he fights nothing but fucking bums, and he's just... I just don't know how good he is. I want to find out how good this guy is. Fuck,
Yeah.
put him against fucking Alvarez. I don't give a shit. Like I just want to see him against a live body, man. He's too inactive. He doesn't fight good enough opposition. I was so excited when he came onto the scene. Like he just looked like a fucking tank, but he's just done absolutely nothing in his career. Like he's just boring.
Yeah. Beast Mode in the Mixler chat brings up a good point about, you know, his legal issues with his former promoter, I think. So I think that's some of the reason why he's been out. But even before that, like, some of his matchmaking wasn't the best, really. Like, he became a belt holder and he's not really fought anyone, really. So it's not really a good sign for a guy that's pretty getting up there in age, and, you know, he's 33 and he's not really fought a live body.
Buddy.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Just staying on light heavy, just totally off topic. I saw today that, you know, they're putting the undercard together for Adonis Stevenson versus Gvozdyk, and I didn't even know that fight got made. Did you know about that?
I didn't even know that either. Really? That's a good fight.
Yeah, it's a good fight, man. But I don't know if Gvozdyk can handle the power, man, like, of Stevenson. But then again, like, can Stevenson land clean, man? He looked pretty shut against Buddy Jack. But again, Buddy Jack's underrated, man. It's this whole fucking triangle theories.
I don't think he looked shot at all versus Buddy Jack.
He definitely gassed out like twice. He gassed out. He gassed out. Then he got like a second win. Then he gassed out again.
Well, he's an explosive guy, man. He never was known for his stamina, but I think it's an exciting fight because of the fact that both guys are vulnerable, right? Stevenson isn't known to have the best chin in the world, and neither does Gvozdyk. So they're gonna throw bombs at each other, and it's gonna be exciting. That's what I think. So
yeah, it's penciled in for 1st of December at the Quebec City Centre Videotron Dome. Undercard's gonna be whack as usual, but yeah, man, the headline. Stevenson Gvozdyk is a really good fight.
Yeah, I like the fight.
I like the fight. You saw the fight?
Not yet, because it hasn't taken place yet, motherfucker.
That's about it, Kimo. I'm trying to look at the schedule. I think I've more or less covered everything. Probably do a show around that time after some of the fights. Probably after that DAZN card, so we can shit on DAZN and Sugar Ray being a terrible commentator, and that's about it.
Man, I respect Sugar Ray a lot, but he should not be having a microphone, man.
Yeah, like when PBC started off and he was on the mic on a lot of these fights, it's like he wasn't even like pointing out obvious things that, you know, like a casual fan would pick up on the fight. And like, as much as respect as I got for him, some boxers just can't, you know, put across what's happening in the ring in like in a decent way. And just because you're a great boxer doesn't mean that you're going to become a great. Like look at Paulie, man. He wasn't the most talented dude, but I know like he's kind of a love and hate figure. But like, I think Paulie is an excellent commentator. And Sugar Ray, like, he just hasn't really got it for me. I'm happy.
Mate, yeah, go ahead.
I'm happy that they got Brian Kenny though. I've always had a soft spot for Brian Kenny, so.
Yeah, you have some sort of Brian Kenny fetish. I don't know what goes on with you. But, mate, you're missing the Redemption in Miami card, eh?
Which Redemption in Miami card?
Announced, bro. It's Gamboa versus Miguel Beltran, and then on the undercard, there's Juanma Lopez.
Yeah, like, who cares, bro?
Fuck me, what a card.
Cool story, bro.
It could actually be a good fight, because Gamboa is probably shot to shit.
Probably, more or less is. But Beast Mode's brought up Bellew Usyk got announced as well, man. What do you think about it?
Oh, yeah. Man, what a surprise. Wasn't expecting it. I mean, obviously the writing was on the wall when he got signed to Matchroom, but yeah, man, Bellew is fucking doing it. We got to give him props, man. Like, he's taking a big fucking fight. And I don't really know if it's a money fight. Like, I don't know how much Bellew is getting for this, but it is a extremely challenging fight for him. I don't see any way that he can win this, to be honest. I think there's levels to this shit, and you know, even though he's had a lot of success lately, it was never really against an elite guy, you know. And Usyk is elite, and perhaps even pound for pound level material. So I got Usyk all fucking day, yeah.
As much as I hate Bellew, I love his confidence or his fakeness because he's like, I know he's gonna outbox me, so I'll knock him out. It's like he's just so confident he's gonna knock Usyk out, man. Like it's crazy, man.
But think about it like this, Cam. Maybe it is a good move in a sense because it's a big fight, right? There's a lot of eyes on Usyk right now. I'm hoping he gets a lot of money, but given that he even took the fight, I think he is getting a shitload of money for it. And Usyk is not really a guy that's gonna like fucking wreck you, you know? He'll just outbox you. So I can see how tactically they chose this as one of his cash out fights, you know? Like, why not? What if you fucking win, you know, and you become undisputed fucking champion?
If you do get that lucky shot, fair enough. But what happens if you look like fucking soulless? His name escapes me. He fought Usyk for undisputed, man. What's his name?
Gassiev. Gassiev,
yeah. Like, what if you just like lose like 12-0, 11-1 and get embarrassed, man? Like, isn't that bad?
Yeah, but then he retires, man. He was already talking about retirement constantly. So it's either a big fight or retirement. So this is it. You know, this is one of his last hurrahs, and he's already overachieved so much, made so much more money than he could ever imagine, and you know, this is the final countdown basically to his career. So I don't think he's going to be that bothered if he loses, honestly.
Yeah, if you lose, yeah, that's true. If you lose to Garcia, it's not exactly.
He wants to go home to his kids, you know. That's what he wants. That's all he wants.
Yeah, that's fair. So that's at the Manchester Arena. I'm surprised it was in Manchester. I thought it'd either be London, maybe, or the only thing is Liverpool Arena is not that big, so they probably want to cash in on the ticket sales. So I did think it'd probably be O2 though. But another fight that thinking about Manchester Arena that got announced, Chemo, Saturday 22nd, 3 days before Crimbo. Warrington Frampton in Manchester.
I'm glad it got made, Cam. I'm glad, and I'm thinking about going, but I'm only going to buy a ticket like the 2 days before the fight because, you know, Warren cards always collapse. And fucking, if this Manny Pacquiao Mayweather fight somehow gets made, that's going to fuck up everyone's plans for like December. So we'll see. Just bring a helmet, Cam, because I think there's going to be shit flying everywhere during that fight, man. I think if I get a ticket, I'll get for like upper tier, man, so I don't get landed with a bottle on my head. It's going to be lit. I like the fight, though, man. It's a good fight. I'll probably pick Warrington, actually. Seriously? Like everyone, I'm surprised that everyone thinks that Frampton has declined so much. It's crazy. Man, no, it's not that. I think Warrington is just a lot better than we thought. I don't think Frampton has declined that much. I definitely don't think he's the same guy. But I'm so impressed with Warrington against fucking Selsby, man. Selsby. I was not expecting that dominant of a performance. I was too, but he was dominating Selsby. I can't judge like one guy off one fight really. Like that's the only fight where he's looked really impressive to me, and like there's multiple fights where Frampton has looked impressive for me. Yeah, maybe like he's a couple years on from that now, but I think skill wise, I think he's still very good. You're probably right, but it just feels nice to go with the Leeds Warrior. We'll see. Marching on together. I'm gonna get you a Leeds t-shirt. That's about it from me, Kimo. Anything else you want to mention? Nah, that's it, man. It's been a good couple of weeks of fights, man. Really enjoyed it, and it's nice to do the show on a regular basis as well, man. Because it's been absolutely dead over the summer. Yeah, September so far has really paid off, man. Yeah, exactly, man. We're back with a fucking vengeance. So I hope Povetkin AJ turns out to be actually better than we expect, man. Who knows? Let's hope somebody gets clipped on the fucking chin and it turns out to be another drama. Big drama. Excitement. All right, thank you, Kimo. Thanks also to Daniel, Lim, and Naoto. All the people that came into the Mixler chat, all like 10 of them, but we appreciate you all. And I did say I'd shout out my boy Mr. Fix of Caffeine and Hip Hop, so what's happening, Mr. Fix? We'll be back probably... Mr. Fix, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Mr. Fix. We'll be back probably 3 to 4 weeks, but, you know, I won't give you a date because then you'll hold me to it in Twitter. So, thank you. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Oh, dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the #1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically burn you, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the song, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Did we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass. Just to play devil's advocate.
You want 1 portion of crow or 2 portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side? But you won't rush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you?
He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weigh for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition.